guys, what's up? Welcome, Pennywises and Babadookers and vengeful seagull gods of all ages, to the third episode
Yes, the
of
third
the
episode
podcast
of the podcast. Recorded on OBS Studio and Discord video call. Third episode. Fear. Welcome back to the Fear podcast. Today we have a very special episode where
Welcome back to the Fear podcast, the Lost Levels.
the Lost Levels. Rather than just looking at movies today, we're going to be looking at a lost podcast recording that we did in April and dubbing over it. So basically, if you've watched episode 3, you'll remember. If you've watched episode 3, you'll know that there's a section of it in which OBS stopped working and my camera stopped working, and so it's Kirk's audio, and his audio's very loud, and I'm very quiet, and you can hear me just enough for me to have been able to kind of subtitle what I said. Like, it worked because I was using a 6-minute segment. Well, we recorded an entire hour and 44 minutes podcast before that is I almost
Sorry.
there's like a tiny portion of that is on OBS, like maybe like 10 minutes total. The rest is only that audio, and so what we decided to do, because I didn't want to have to upload a whole podcast that was just Kirk. Like, if you turn the volume all the way up, I noticed this when we were rewatching the podcast. If you turn the volume all the way up, you can make out most of what I'm saying, but you also hear every breath Kirk takes. You can hear, or like if
Every breath I take, every move I make,
Exactly.
y'all will be hearing
yes,
me.
literally, like there were parts where you drink water and it was just these like gross slurping sounds, and I'm like, that would be pain. I don't want people. I don't
Hang
want.
on, wait. Let me mimic to it by getting really close
Oh
to my
God,
microphone.
no. They'll hear it. They'll hear it when we commentate over it, but not as loud as. See, even that was not as. Like I barely heard that, to be honest.
Well, because my microphone was like automatically turning it down because I was spiking.
Yeah, I had that. I adjusted some stuff in OBS recently because I noticed this new mic was spiking. It picks up my audio a lot better than the old headset mic I had. But yes, we have 3 movies that we talked about. That would be Robin.
I haven't pulled up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Robin Hood.
I have Wikipedia
2010.
pages for all of them pulled up. We have Robin Hood 2010, The Three Musketeers 2011, and Nutcracker in the Four Realms 2018. I was refreshing myself on the plot by reading Wikipedia pages. I've also watched through the entire hour and 40 minutes to make sure to like get a general sense of what we were talking about, so I can try to keep things relatively on pace. It's still going to be a chaotic mess. There's definitely going to be at least one moment where this Kirk on video talks over old Kirk. So
Yeah. Maybe
fear,
I'll put on a
fear,
snooty.
fear.
Yeah.
We're
creating fear as we speak.
One thing I noticed when rewatching is that we didn't actually exercise anything because none of the movies were interesting enough to exercise. So instead of exercising one of the movies, I argue we just exercise the old audio recording.
Just exercise the old audio.
Because
what am I gonna do? What do we do for that? Am I just gonna like hit my webcam with a lightsaber?
You can like motion it. You don't have to actually hit it. Just like foreshadowing for the end of this. But yes.
Foreshadowing. Yes.
Let's begin listening to this thing. Once it loads up for me.
I have it pulled up on my file, so I'll just start playing it on my end.
Oh no! Well, we should start at the same time so that we're reacting to the same things at the same time.
Yeah, we need to make this like a commentary track.
I don't know
Maybe
why.
I'll put on like a snooty French accent or something.
And I'll put on a British accent.
Mm.
I'm in my D&D group. One of our players is starting his own side campaign, and both me and my friend Jack are
What's
playing.
good, Pennywises and
Oh God!
Babadookers,
Okay,
and
I did not
welcome to
expect
the
that. That was
Fear.
on my end. Hold on.
Did it start playing automatically?
Yes, it did start playing automatically. As you can see, for some reason on my computer it plays in the Groove Music app. I don't know what that is, but Robin Hood, Three Musketeers, and Nutcracker. Here we go. It's 1
right.
hour 41 minutes. In 3,
In 3, 2,
2, 1.
1.
What's good, Pennywises
Oh, God,
and
I'm
Babadookers,
loud.
and welcome to
Yeah,
the Fear.
there is a little bit of echo. I don't know if you want to turn yours down.
Sure.
You might want to turn yours down, and then we can start it over. Because there definitely
Uh,
was a hello.
All right.
I mean,
turned mine down.
In all fairness, mine is also loud. I think I have my volume up, so I'll turn it down.
I'm at 15 seconds. I don't know
Okay,
if you're gonna be able to get to that.
Well, I can scroll to 16 seconds. Close enough. Play.
Yeah, and I'm currently recording in a separate
Can you
window
still hear that?
on
No, you're good.
Audacity
Alright.
to see if that works.
I'm gonna turn the
I'm looking
volume
at my
of the audio
sound
file
files
down
and
a
they
little
are,
bit
and
myself,
they're
so it doesn't
spiking
pick
all
up
over the place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah.
So then I'm
You
talking
can
about.
pick me up, Will. You can still pick me up, right?
Yes, I'm still picking you up.
That's
So
good.
here's me doing my intro. We haven't done our intros yet, so we'll just do it now. I'm Coleman
Right.
Hahn, also known as
I'm
Chuck
Kirk
Batman
Zanetti.
5 on Instagram, and
I'm Kirk Zanetti, also known as the Captain Kirk on Instagram. The _ captain with a K _ Kirk.
And
A dummy thick third account.
Oh,
right.
that's
we were
right.
using
Yes, this is
Discord.
an important topic. We were using Discord, and for some reason, see how our webcams are perfectly set up right now for 2
Yeah.
people? That's the power of Zoom at work. When we did it on Discord, we couldn't get them to be the same size.
So we created a burner account.
We created a
with
burner
Matthew
account
Macfadyen
based
as
on which leads into the theme of this. Which leads into the theme of this podcast.
For
which
some
I
reason,
think this Kirk is explaining.
every movie that we're going to be watching today features Mr. McFadyen. So much so that when we found out he was in a movie called Nutcracker in the Four Realms, despite knowing it was probably going to be complete shit, we decided to watch it just for him.
Yeah.
He is alleged Ren Fair player. By alleged, I mean we've seen him in every movie thus far. We've seen him in. He has been in Ren Fair cosplay.
They're all fantasy period pieces, so he's in like Ren Fair stuff. So basically, this episode of the podcast was originally and still is dedicated to our new favorite obscure actor. Relatively obscure. We looked it up. He's got a nice log of stuff, but it's mostly stage work. So in the realm of film, he is pretty obscure. But all 3 of these movies happen to have him in them to some degree.
Yeah. And so we also set up in this podcast a sub goal of trying to get this podcast big enough to the point where we get Matthew Macfadyen
I think
on the pod.
I think we mentioned that in the recording at a certain
2018.
point. 2018. That was you saying when Nutcracker and the Four Realms came out. So funny to hear that out of
tabs
context.
up.
I'm gonna turn the volume.
I'm gonna read a brief description from each.
Okay, here's you reading the descriptions of each movie. So let's shush.
Yeah. Let's listen to this beauty.
Let's absorb past Kirk from April, I think, is when we recorded this. It's been a few months.
We're gonna do this old school style.
You could just barely hear you on that one because you're being
glorious, absolutely glorious. So I'm just gonna do this. We're just gonna do this old school style. I'm gonna read the descriptions, and maybe in post we'll put like a picture.
Joke's on you, past me. This podcast didn't even air.
Nope. So his webcam wasn't working when we recorded this one, just to add to the chaos.
So you could just hear me.
Yeah, so you could just hear him.
So So I think
All right.
Getting
first
to
up,
the end of
Robin
this
Hood
and
2010.
finding out that we didn't even
HD.
exercise something just
Gladiator,
reaffirmed
and that's
that
in
if there was
parentheses,
any to have to
Gladiator,
redub,
director
it's this one.
Ridley Scott.
But let's
and
listen to the
star-
description.
That's
This
not in
podcast
parentheses,
was
but you know it
cursed.
should
Yeah,
be.
it really was.
Russell Crowe reteam in this thrilling revisionist take on the Robin Hood in parentheses. Robin
I'm just gonna
Hood
show the Wikipedia page
legend.
for it on my capture, and you can read that while Kirk is talking, because instead of editing in a
Yes,
picture.
in quotation.
I mean, I could just pull it up probably.
No, we're
But-
good. We're good. It's all good.
Right.
It's directed by Ridley Scott, and it
barely a
stars
movie.
Russell Crowe. It's
Yeah.
barely a movie. I love that out of context. I'm not sure what you meant by that, but
I just think I meant that it's bad.
yeah, it's bad.
It's bad, but in a boring way.
In a boring way, very much so. All of these movies are
A thrilling revisionist take.
That's right.
Thrilling
The description you read
revisionist
calls it a
take.
thrilling revisionist take. I would say revisionist take part of that, absolutely true.
Yeah.
Thrilling
All
part,
right.
wrong.
Then the second movie we watched.
It's a
was
boring revisionist
The Three
take.
Musketeers,
Yeah,
2011.
it's got
We thought it was by Disney,
it's got some
but it's actually
issues,
Yeah.
to say the least.
We'll get to those. For some reason, in this one, we decided to read the descriptions of all the movies
Which
and then
was by
talk
Disney.
about them. I don't know why we did it that way this time and not any other times. It just adds
That's
to
right.
the chaos. This
Well,
is
because
still,
I
this is
am
our first.
yeah,
This
this
is our first. This
online.
I
First
am
online.
Kirk Zanetti.
Yeah.
is our.
You may
It's
know
basically-
me
We're doing
for some
it-
reason. I don't
we're
know
doing
why.
our
Doing the
intros
intro's
before
far
you
too late. You know
record.
what?
As
Just
the
okay, shut up.
Captain
I'm gonna turn the volume of it down so I can talk over the intros because I don't even care.
Yeah.
We already did the intro. Yeah, this was basically. It's basically taken us it took us two podcasts to get to the point where we could do one without technical issues.
Yeah.
Like, if you've watched episode 3, you know it's plagued with technical issues. This one had technical issues so bad that we are having to do this. It's the learning process because of the pandemic and because of us being in different places during the summer anyway, of
and
learning.
just being brilliantly incompetent.
Yes, also that. Also very much that. Also, Discord video sucks. I'm going to turn back the
It
volume up
does.
now.
That's
Yeah.
that's
I'm
That's
the
gonna keep
goal.
mine
is
relatively low.
Yeah.
It's very
Find
loud on my
McFadyen,
end for some reason.
Get him on
It's
this
probably
podcast.
because I have the thing up. Oh, there we go. You just said it. The goal is to get Matthew McFadyen on this podcast.
I was gonna finish up the
Hashtag
descriptions on
Matthew
You
McFadyen
McFadyen
on
so
cut.
Fear.
the Three Musketeers.
Fear. Matthew
Three
McFadyen
Musketeers.
for
Release the
2011.
McFadyen cut.
The young hero
Do it,
D'Artagnan
you cowards, Warner
in
Brothers.
parentheses.
Oh, wait. We're talking
Actual
about
parentheses
Three
this
Musketeers.
time. No,
Oh,
these are
we're
actual
doing the
parentheses.
description for
Three
Actual
Musketeers.
parentheses.
And
this
we're
time. My
experiencing
bad.
you and I
Logan-
getting very
Logan
confused
Lerman.
about the difference between quotation marks and parentheses.
Of Percy Jackson
I
fame
think I
and
was slightly drunk when
was
I
he
recorded this.
Maze
Because
Runner?
I sound drunk.
That might explain some of the weird gurgly noises you make in this recording that are hopefully I've turned the volume down enough that you won't be able to hear them. But in order for me to hear my audio watching through this the first time, I had to suffer gurgles.
He was a little too bad to be playing a
Suffer.
a
It
star
sounded
in
like
a
I was
young
like in the
adult-
middle of a death
young
roll.
adult movie franchise.
It
by
was
then.
just
because
like-
he showed up on the scene like
Yuck,
what,
yuck.
late 2000s.
We're talking about
no.
Logan Lerman. Shh. Logan Lerman.
Oh.
Logan
Is this
Lerman plays
now-
the lead of Three Musketeers. Well, D'Artagnan, the young musketeer. There was
Oh
definitely.
no!
This-
I think I know that movie. Oh no!
I can't believe
Oh,
this.
this
Logan
is this is where I look at Logan Lerman's
It's the
filmography
one-
and say
yeah,
and
it's the
realize
one
he was
where,
in the
like,
film Gamer.
It's basically Stay
right, we
Alive,
knew
if
to
you know
we
that
decided
movie,
we were
where
gonna watch
if you
that at
die
some
in the
point.
game, you die in real
Or
life.
we joked
But
that we
they,
were
but they
gonna
add an
watch it at
extra
some point.
twist on it where, like, you're controlling
There's you
characters
talking about
in the
Gamer in
video
the
game who are
Yeah.
killing each other.
If you die in the game, you die in real life.
we basically just we kind of decided that
At some point
that-
in this podcast, we are going to cover the entire discography of Logan Lerman and Matthew McFadyen. but not
I
today.
need to add that to the ever-growing list of movies that we have.
Side tangent. Okay, let's go back to the description.
We
And
kind of
France's
agreed
most elite
that
warriors
we should
battle their
save
way.
Gamer for when we can meet in person because
One of which is
that's a
played by
movie that has
Matthew
so much
McFarlane
meme
himself.
potential. We need to watch it together.
Across Europe,
We should
to
also
save
use
King
that opportunity to do
save
a
King and Country from a conspiracy
video
led
game
by
movie.
deadly assassin.
Yeah, a video
Lady.
game movie episode.
video game movie
Future
episode.
episode.
Mila
Right now,
Jovovich,
let's
close
focus on
bracket,
this.
close
We're
parentheses.
talking over your
And
entire
the Duke
description.
of Buckingham.
Buckingham.
Open parentheses.
Open
Orlando
Why
Bloom,
did you
close
say
parentheses.
closed parentheses
Fun fact,
and open
another one of
parentheses?
the Three Musketeers is played by Luke Evans,
Mr.
the
Fucking
guy
himself,
who looks
Orlando
exactly
Bloom.
like...
Oh yeah, here's where we're talking about the three people that all look the same in Three Musketeers.
The three versions of Orlando Bloom.
There's Luke Evans, who plays one of the Musketeers. Matthew
Who's-
Macfadyen, who
who
plays...
is like
Luke
just,
Evans and
who's
Orlando Bloom look
literally
especially
just
similar.
like
Yeah.
an Orlando Bloom stand-in.
And then
He looks so much like him.
Orlando
You
Bloom
might know
plays
these
a
two
villain.
from another movie that came out a
Yeah.
few years after this, The Hobbit, where they also played roles that looked incredibly
I'm
similar
talking
to
about
each other.
when
I
Luke
don't know
Evans
why
and
Luke Evans is
Orlando
cast
Bloom
is
were
being
in The Hobbit
typecast
together.
as the hotter younger brother of
Did we ever
Orlando
decide
Bloom.
that he was definitively the hotter version? Or did
No, we
like-
just argued about it a little bit. See, you were saying that you think
What do you,
Luke
is there a
Evans...
discount? For me,
Here's the
for me-
debate. You were saying Luke Evans looks
I
like
mean,
the,
at least
the
for me, he
younger
looks
one.
hotter. But that doesn't might just be because he's younger, you know.
I think
See-
it's just because,
see,
like, I know how long
know how-
Orlando
yeah.
Bloom is.
I've always thought Orlando.
Let us know in the
Bloom
comments
looked
what you
younger.
guys think.
Yes,
Who's
let us
hotter?
know in the comments who's hotter, Orlando Bloom or Luke Evans. Please don't
We'll
get
make
them
a-
confused.
We'll make a straw
The
poll
three
in the
Orlando
A
corners.
straw poll. This isn't Twitch, dude. Oh
Okay.
yeah, but they have those cards where you can do. I forgot that's a
We
thing
are.
on YouTube because I've never used YouTube
okay.
cards in my life.
Disney,
The
the
iCards.
Nutcracker, and the Four
Hi,
Realms.
welcome to
The keys,
iCards.
not much of a Christmas
I'm
gift.
Carly.
But
This
lucky
is my
for
host,
her,
Sam.
it unlocks elaborate
We're gonna
dimensions and
we're
her
gonna
greatest
show
strength.
a bunch of
That's just stuff.
copyright
That's
infringed,
Netflix.
internet
Is
clips
description.
and not
That's a
give
horrible
anyone
description.
royalties.
They should feel ashamed.
I'm gonna read this description because it's much. Nutcracker in the Four Realms is a 2018
No.
American children's Christmas-themed fantasy mystery adventure film. God, that's a lot of adjectives.
That's a
Directed,
lot of
directed, blah blah
adjectives.
blah blah blah.
That's saying something, considering we saw
If
Three
you have
Musketeers.
that many adjectives, you might need to rethink your movie.
Or it's just apparent. It says in the headline. I don't know why you're laughing.
Okay, we'll
I
start.
don't know either.
It says in the headline of this Wikipedia page that Nutcracker received generally unfavorable reviews, criticizing it as soulless and incoherent.
Yep.
Which, yep.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, we're still.
Could it be because it's a blatant ripoff
Yeah, we're still recording. Okay,
of
I'm checking.
Alice in
Just-
Wonderland
just-
by Tim Burton,
Yep.
which was
And
itself...
8 million other Disney
All right,
movies. But we'll
so,
get into that.
Yeah.
Let's start with the
or at least
first
I
movie
will.
that we
I
watched
don't know
tonight.
if you.
Robin Hood
I don't know
2010.
if actually I don't know if I don't remember
Yesterday.
anything really about this
Okay,
podcast.
just
I
to
only
give a
listened to
brief, I
snippets of
guess,
it
summary
Okay.
before we get into the meat and
weekend.
potatoes.
So this
of
is also
movie.
a first for me.
It's
Okay.
a briefer summary that actually
I
explains
think what
the
happened
movie.
was I played it.
It's a
I
Robin
heard me
Hood
go,
origin story
"Eh,"
starring
really
Russell
loud
Crowe
on
as
the
Yeah.
Robin Hood
microphone, and I'm
as
like,
he
"That's
escapes
enough for
from
that."
King
I
Richard's
sat through
army
the whole thing
and,
because I wanted to be
quote
able
unquote,
to keep us on track
establishes
with
the
what we were
legend of
talking
Robin
about.
Hood. I say
I
quote
think that
unquote
works. Like one of us
because
knows what's happening.
he
and
does
one
nothing
of us
Robin
yeah,
Hood in
that's
this
good.
movie.
That's
He
good.
has
Yeah, it works.
one scene where he acts like Robin
We're
Hood,
talking about
and that's
Robin
it.
Hood right here.
Yeah, back to Robin.
That glorious masterpiece, Robin Hood, starring
Where Robin
Russell
Hood shoots
Crowe.
like 5 arrows the whole movie and never steals anything except in like one
Yeah,
scene.
just
Where
assholes
he's
from the
not
church.
stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. He's stealing from like the sort of rich and giving to the himself.
Okay. On the Wikipedia article for Robin Hood, there's actually a section
And most
on...
of those arrow shots get cut out of the theatrical version.
On what?
There's the commentary on the fact that he shoots like 5 arrows all movie. Now, I think this is where I
Robin
explained
Hood.
that I watched the version on YouTube that I rented, and he watched the Amazon Prime Video version, which his was the
You watched the Snyder cut of Ridley Scott's Robin Hood 2010. I watched the Schumacher cut of Robin Hood 2010 by Ridley Scott.
What that means?
That's the movie I want to watch. Release
which
Justice
has the theatrical
League,
version.
The Schumacher cut.
Yes, there we go. He just said it in the past.
Which has the uncut version.
There we go. I watched the uncut version. He watched the theatrical version. So that didn't help.
Past me.
Because we spent the whole movie being like, wait, where are you? What's going on?
We had to start and stop like 3
We kept having
times.
to like pause and play because scenes
or
were mixed
cut
out
entirely.
of order. Or yes, a few scenes were cut entirely, which we do go into in here.
I think we watched this movie at like 4 or 5.
It took the movie like maybe an extra hour to get through.
This movie's
just
really
because
long.
Of that,
Kirk
all of that
mentions
bullshit.
that in a minute, so.
It's very clearly like
what's going on your end? What's going on your end?
That's what was happening the whole time. What's going on your end? It's kind of like
I don't even know. Like
what's
it's
going
not
on
even
in the
supposed
old
to
recording?
really be
What's
that
going on in the
confusing.
new
It's
recording?
like a guy gets killed in the line of duty. Robin Hood takes up his identity, and then shit goes south.
That's it. That's our brave hero, everyone.
Yes.
He robs from the dead.
I was realizing this when
You just thought it was just he was just doing this for fun.
Yeah.
I was reading it. I was realizing this when I read the Wikipedia article for the movie. Robin Hood actively steals Robert of Locksley's identity and wife.
Oh, but it's even worse than Three
Musketeers.
Musketeers.
The dead.
Because Marion is his wife, and then Robin Hood shows up, and her dad's keep pretending to be Robin of Locksley so we don't lose our land, and then eventually he falls in love with the widowed Marion.
Yeah.
It's a really weird romance.
It's really bad.
Falls in love. If
Yeah,
you can call what Russell Crowe does.
There's no
if you
chemistry.
can call what Russell Crowe does in this movie falling in love.
Which is a problem in and of itself, but that's for a later
Russell
discussion.
Crowe, I know he has kind of either a reputation for sleep acting through a lot of roles.
God, he's really sleep acting in this movie. This is peak Russell Crowe sleep acting.
He is on autopilot in this movie.
They somehow added 15 extra minutes of footage, which is funny because I don't think we finished 15 minutes apart.
At some point, we just kind of gave up and just kept going, regardless of.
But even then, they only really added, I think, 2 extra scenes on your end.
Yes, they added 2 extra scenes. One of which is Matthew Macfadyen's longest scene. Matthew Macfadyen gets shafted in this movie. He plays the sheriff of Nottingham, who you'd think would be the primary antagonist.
Hood's principal antagonist.
But in this movie, he is not even the second-tier antagonist.
He was probably so excited.
He's like 4th or 5th.
Yes, Matthew Macfadyen was probably so excited. Ooh, Sheriff of Nottingham, Ren Fair costumes, fun. He's like the 4th or 5th-tier antagonist in this movie.
I just love that we're creating.
No. He shows up back at the end to look for the very end, being
really
like,
is great.
Robin Hood is a criminal, and anyone who helps him will be tried for death. And then an arrow flies and pins his hand to a tree.
He gets pinned to a tree.
Basically, the end of this movie sets up a more traditional Robin Hood movie where Sheriff of Nottingham is the villain. That movie, of course, was never made, so Matthew Macfadyen never got to have his shining moment as Sheriff of Nottingham. He had
the merry men in this version are a bunch of weird orphan children in the forest.
Oh yeah, the weird. We get to talking about the forest children later in this recording. But Matthew Macfadyen has
and it's not even, it's not even good setup. Nothing in this movie foreshadows him actually becoming Robin Hood.
Exactly.
There it is.
The end of the movie is just like, oh, he's Robin Hood now. The entire movie is basically just a Robin Hood origin story. So nothing that happens in it is wrong. Reading the plot on Wikipedia really gave me a perspective of just how little of this movie is Robin Hood. You could literally make his name like John Smith, and just make this a completely original story.
And he goes
Like,
long,
it doesn't-
Robin
about
Longstride.
John Smith going
just-
to America,
it's
and it's the exact same movie.
It's just a dumb medieval
Ro-
political
Ro-
drama with Robin Hood
Robin-
names inserted in it.
Robin Thicke, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
I don't know why you say that.
Robin Thicke, Hood.
Lord of the Rings. I didn't know why you said
Oh,
it. Doesn't
Lord of the
make any
Rings.
more sense when you can hear me. Trust me. Basically,
for
I
some-
think we were saying that this movie is trying really hard to be Lord of the Rings in its aesthetic, but it's not.
Yeah.
It
We
lacks.
get the Battle of fucking Normandy in
It
this.
lacks
Yes, the end
sort
of the final act of the movie is like a reverse Battle of Normandy, where the French army is
Invading the beaches of Normandy.
invading the beaches of the English coast in a
I don't know what
fucking,
acting
like,
lessons he got
medieval
between this
versions
movie
of those
and I think
Normandy
Ex Machina
boats.
was his
Oh,
They
big break.
literally have like the walls.
Wait, we're talking about Oscar Isaac and his terrible performance in this movie.
Oh, Oscar! Right, I fucking forgot about
He is
Oscar Isaac.
it is bafflingly terrible. It is terrible in a way that can only be that you can tell that this is very early in his career.
Yeah, exactly. He's improved so much as an actor since this movie that it's not even funny.
Yeah, it's early in his career in the sense that it's like this is. Like
I love that
one
I
of his
can't
first
tell when
big
Kirk is
breaks.
laughing now and when it's a recording of him laughing.
He probably did a bunch of like indie film stuff, TV
Oscar
stuff.
Isaac, indie darling. I mean,
he
he
kinda
kind
is.
of was. Yeah, he got
Probably.
shamed for some reason. Like he excitedly joined Star Wars and then got shamed into staying in Star Wars.
I feel like all of the principal Star Wars new trilogy actors feel
The
that
direction
way.
he was given was
Except
probably be as
Daisy
irritating
Ridley,
as
who,
possible, and
But I'm not. But like,
and
she
him
just
being
got, like,
a
burnt
young
out on the
actor
whole
who wants to
thing.
prove
She
himself
was just like,
and doesn't have enough
I'm
experience
tired
yet,
of
was probably
internet
like, "Don't you
trolls
worry,
telling me that
boss. I'm
a
going to be as
Mary Sue
irritating
who's
as possible."
destroying the
And the
fabric of
result
Star
is
Wars by
he's as
simply
irritating
existing.
as fucking
So
possible.
I'm just gonna wipe my hands of that shit.
I love how you're talking about Star Wars,
or even
and
Prince
then
John.
old Kirk was commentating on how Oscar Isaac seems to have been given direction to be extremely irritating, and he wasn't a good enough actor to be like, how can I make that a character? He was just irritating.
Yeah, he was just like,
He
well, they
plays-
asked me to be irritating.
He plays
Not be the sheriff of Nottingham.
He plays Prince John, or I guess maybe King John in this scenario. I
That
don't know.
we never
As
get.
this
I don't know.
irritating little punk, basically this punk, stuck-up, hothead kid.
I'm trying
which
to
is
think
just
of like a
incredibly
good analogy. He's kind of plays him like
One thing-
Robin Hood. I can't believe they turned Robin Hood from a socialist into
I talk
another
about
member of the ruling
Robin
elite.
Hood's obvious socialist.
God.
Yes.
Really think about that. Really think about that.
Hold on.
They turned Robin Hood into another tool
Because he's
for
like
the
a
monarchy.
soldier for Richard III in
Yes,
this.
well, that's what he's a soldier at the start, and then the big twist of his identity at the end of the movie is he goes through the whole movie not knowing who his father was, and then at the end he finds out his father is a member of like the English royal family.
Who signed the Magna Carta.
Yeah, basically the Magna, like
It
an
is-
equivalent of the Magna Carta.
It is.
This is a
It
weird
is shot
political
for shot
drama.
the Battle of Normandy. I know this
We're
because
back to
they
this
even
topic.
use the same boats as the ones they use in
fucking
Normandy, where
boats.
they have a wall that comes down.
Yeah,
No,
they use,
no, like just historically, you know how however Normandy's been betrayed. This is how it's always been betrayed. You have you have people on the. You have people on the beach, you have people coming across on boats, and the boat's walls give away and turn into ramps.
Yeah, I
for the
feel like-
soldiers
Doesn't
to
really
be
make
able to
sense
get through
because it's
without
more
getting
like
shot.
you're putting them in the perfect
And
line of fire.
but they
to
do
get
that with
shot
horses
by
and
the
people
people
on
on,
boat
like,
with
the high
bows
ground or
and
whatever.
swords.
It's also like this is medieval times, so why are you aping World War I movies or World War II movies? Sorry.
Because
No.
the nerds always say
There's-
that The Lord of the Rings is actually just an analogy for World War II.
Oh my God.
So we wanted to make it like World War
There's
II.
a big issue with this movie
He's
where
the least Robin Hood I've ever seen. He wields a giant hammer, fights in the name of the king.
In the final battle, he's swinging a hammer around instead of using a bow and arrow.
Magna Carta.
And then he switches to a sword.
Yes. He does use an arrow to kill the primary antagonist, who is a guy named Lord Godfrey, who...
King Richard III.
It doesn't even seem like he's very good with it.
No, yeah. Well, they have a scene in the beginning of the movie where he shoots an arrow and the camera follows the arrow, which looks really bad.
I don't even think they call him that in the end of the movie.
It's not great.
And the arrow misses. And then at the end of the movie, they use the same shot when he kills Godfrey. So it's meant to say, oh, he's learned how to use a bow and arrow. But we never see him learn how to use a bow and arrow because we never see him use a bow and arrow. More than like twice between those 2 points.
It's like, why would you have our main hero who turns into Robin Hood not be good with a bow and arrow?
They also, I don't know if they ever actually call him Robin Hood throughout the whole movie.
Falling in love.
I think they call him Robin of the Hood.
Yes,
because he's robbing people.
It actually
in a hood.
It actually really reminds me of how the show Arrow refuses to call him the Green Arrow for like 2 seasons. They just call him the Hood because they're afraid of being too
Robin Hood like.
Which is fitting because at the end of this segment you say that Arrow stole its aesthetic from Robin Hood from this movie, and there's a weird amount of similarities between Robin Hood 2010 and Arrow, the CW's TV show.
They are both based on characters that you can arguably trace their roots back to Robin Hood. They both are ashamed of.
It's like they saw what they did in Lord of the Rings, where it's like, oh, the first movie is everyone coming together, and then the second movie is they all start to fall apart, and then the third movie they come back together again, and they're like, we'll do it in one. We'll do it in one, guys.
And
it's
the
gonna be
entire
great.
Lord of the Rings story in one movie, because basically he goes to Nottingham and meets Marion after delivering the Robin of Locksley's sword to the king or something, but he has to pretend to be Robin of Locksley to report to the king. It's weird and confusing, and the 2 versions of the movie we watched didn't help. Also, it's been months since we watched this, so it's hard to like even piece together.
Well, because it's like he wasn't like a straight-up soldier in Richard Donner. He was kind of just like a
We've already been talking
mercenary,
for 30
but
minutes about this. I don't know if you want to move on to the next one.
At least believe in Richard. So, like, Richard's like last act before
if you've seen Lord of the Rings, and if you've seen Chronicles of Narnia, and if you've seen every single big fantasy movie that came out after Lord of the Rings and tried to absorb.
Hold on a second, because I think old Kirk is
then you've
ruling
seen
out
this
new
movie.
Kirk right now, at least in my head.
I can't believe Arrow.
There it is. I can't believe Arrow from
stole the entire aesthetic of this movie.
Arrow Man stole Robin Hood's aesthetic.
Yeah, but Arrow does the same thing. They're afraid to call him by his original story name for a while.
Yeah, it's not great.
Where do you think they stole that from? Maybe from the story that's afraid to call him Robin Hood, or have him wear green.
Yeah, he doesn't even wear a hood.
Or be merry.
There is one scene where he's stealing from the poor. Or, not stealing from the poor. There's one scene where he's helping out some poor guys steal from the rich and wearing a hood and using a bow and arrow. But from what I recall, he only does so...
it's just as bad as mine.
What?
He only does so
to, like, get something from this person that asked him to do it, from what I remember.
And then he only does so because, like,
the only thing that was actually cut down in the uncut version to the theatrical was the fucking forest children.
Yeah. Here's where we talk about the other major scene that was cut from the movie is the scene really establishing what the forest children are. So for the theatrical cut, these forest children are these strange, vaguely mystical creatures that just follow Marion around and appear in some scenes. Like, the 2 biggest scenes they cut are a scene in which Marion takes Robin to meet the forest kids, and a scene in which Marion and Robin have a utterly stupid romantic encounter in a, like, mud pool. Don't ask. and then Matthew Macfadyen shows up, and that's the one time they call him Sheriff of Nottingham by name.
Release the Matthew Macfadyen cut.
The Matthew Macfadyen cut, where his character actually matters and gets name dropped directly.
I want to believe that there is a cut out there with even more There's a cut out there where Matthew Macfadyen is doing test audio and test video of as every single character.
What we need to do is we need to release a cut of all 3 versions and then stitch them together into the same movie.
Make it even
call
longer.
That the fear cut.
Maybe in 10 more years, when we get into that 2010s nostalgia,
and
people
will never
will be
make sense.
screaming and clamoring.
Can you tell that we're not exactly huge fans of the idea of a Snyder cut?
Yeah.
Speaking of Three Musketeers,
I never made a statement on the Snyder cut, but I agree that my thing about the Snyder cut is I'm pretty sure the movie's not going to be that much better with Snyder's
vision. It's going to be
vision.
just the same, if not worse.
Yeah.
Because
I also
I never
Pirates
liked
of
what
the
Snyder
Caribbean
did with Batman and Superman, and I never watched Man of Steel. But everyone whose opinion I trust that has watched it, that I've talked to about, they either have incredibly mixed opinions of it or bad opinions of it.
But I think.
Oh, we're gonna do the point-by-point breakdown of this. Okay.
Hold on. I think the recording is moving on to Three Musketeers.
So the movie starts out.
Let's pause the recording because I want to talk just a little bit more about Robin Hood, and the Snyder cut if you want, and then we'll press play on the old recording when we're ready to talk about Three Musketeers.
Okay. So first off, I don't know how much. First off, assuming a Snyder cut exists, which DC and Snyder have pretty much confirmed at this point doesn't.
That it didn't, and they're just making one.
They're making a Snyder cut now. They are forcing a Snyder cut into existence.
Yeah.
But that's a different point. I've seen Snyder work. I've seen 300. I've seen Batman v Superman. I've seen Sucker Punch, and except for 300, I have been underwhelmed every single time. People keep telling me you're just not. People act like, oh, you're not looking deep enough into it. There's so much there, and it's like there really isn't.
Robin Hood really feels like it could be a Zack Snyder film. It really does. Like the bottom of the barrel. The type of film you would watch from Zack Snyder to see what his true oeuvre was.
The Zack Snyder oeuvre. Which is hard to see action because he's filming it in such low lighting.
That's literally
colors.
Every action scene in Robin Hood. Robin Hood is just as desaturated and dark and hard to see and bland looking as any Zack Snyder film. In fact, it may be even worse.
I've seen people make edits of here's what a normal film looks like, and then here's a Snyder cut, and it's like, oh great, you've washed out all the color. Thanks. Thanks.
Do people really make those comparisons as if it's an improvement?
I don't know. I think part of me thinks that they're just being trolls, but I don't know. Do people actually I understand wanting a realistic aesthetic. I don't like the realistic aesthetic, and I don't think it's something you should strive for. But I understand the realistic aesthetic. It's something they strive
for in Robin Hood way too hard. That's another similarity to Zack Snyder work. The movie is torn.
But a washed out color is not realistic.
Yeah, it's not. Robin Hood's main issue is that it's so focused on being a it's trying to be a realistic historical-ish take on a Robin Hood origin story, giving him all this historical context with people's revolutions and Magna Carta-esque things and political drama between England and France, and it's no, that is not what people like Robin Hood for.
Yeah, it completely misses what people like about Robin Hood, he's a fun character who you want to relate to, who robs from the rich and gives to the poor. He is a fundamentally good guy that wants to fight back against unjust systems.
And
that's why I make jokes about him being a socialist.
I honestly,
because he's kind of like the first socialist we have.
I honestly
in
can't
pop
even
culture.
say that Russell Crowe's Robin Hood is necessarily a noble or good person. He kind of becomes one by the end, but he starts out pretty neutral.
Starts out neutral, if not bad.
Yeah.
Like not bad as in, oh, what a terrible guy. Just neutral, like bad as in like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like get behind this character.
Yeah.
As much as the movie obviously
I would like to say, when I was reading the Wikipedia article, there's a section on development and pre-production in here that has a concept for the movie that is actually much more like interesting than what they went with. Apparently, it was originally called Nottingham, and the idea was
it like a Nottingham origin story?
It was their script portrayed a more sympathetic sheriff of Nottingham and less virtuous Robin Hood. So
see, that's kind of interesting.
And the two of them are involved in a love triangle with Marion, which you can see.
That's less interesting.
Yeah. But you can see in this movie that the sheriff is interested in Marion, but it's this very one-sided thing. And there's also a quote.
And he's not sympathetic. He's
not.
He's still monstrous.
He's Matthew Macfadyen hamming it up, and it's fun to watch him do that. But it's interesting because Ridley Scott also says in this that he said he was not a fan of previous film versions of Robin Hood, saying the best, frankly, was Mel Brooks' Men in Tights, which
I mean, there's a certain amount of truth to that, where it's kind of the most honest version of Robin Hood. But that's also like real. I hate that type of view, you know.
Yeah, well, it's the kind of thing where it's like, if the best Robin Hood movie is a parody, then can you really say there's ever been a good Robin Hood movie?
Yeah. And if that's the case, then is you trying to make a serious, gritty Robin Hood going to solve anything if the
answer is no, it didn't.
Is a goofy parody?
So, it says Ridley Scott had some...
Also, that's a goddamn lie, because, like, I don't know if it's beloved, but the one with Errol Flynn is, like, hugely influential when it comes to soundtracks.
Which one is that? Robin Hood?
It's Errol Flynn Robin Hood from, like, the 30s or 40s.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
it's not... I don't know if it's very good, but I do know that, like, the person who wrote that score is basically the teacher, not the teacher, but like the predecessor to John Williams. It's very important, if nothing else.
Well, looking at this description, I can see how this movie became what it was, because apparently Ridley Scott was dissatisfied with the script, so they rewrote it into a story about Robin Hood becoming an outlaw, a Robin Hood origin story. Then they dropped the title of Nottingham and changed it to a more traditional angle. Then they were about to start filming when the 2008 Screen Actors Guild strike happened, which then made them rewrite the movie again, and then they merged the character of the sheriff. No. They merged their original character of the sheriff with their character of Robin, which explains why Robin is so weirdly unsympathetic in this movie, and why the sheriff is such a nothing character, because they threw in this other version of him at the end. So it's like that explains a lot of how the movie became so bad.
Everything. Mainly the part where Ridley Scott was like, this isn't up to my standards. I have set high standards for myself with brilliant films like Alien Covenant, and this is not meeting that standard.
Oh my god.
And
then at the end it
Ridley
says
Scott is one of those people that like when he stopped being good, he really stopped being good.
Well, then it says by February 2009, Scott revealed Nottingham had become his version of Robin Hood, as he had become dissatisfied with the idea of Robin starting as the sheriff. So originally, the Robin we see in this movie, I guess, would have started as the sheriff. Would have started as the sheriff and become Robin Hood. But instead, now he just starts as some nameless soldier who's as unlikable and then becomes Robin Hood, and the Sheriff of Nottingham is thrown in as this throwaway character. So it seems like there's awkward bits and pieces of their original pretty cool idea that were just completely turned into something that wasn't that at all.
Army Man strikes again.
The idea of the Sheriff of
Army
Nottingham...
Man does an army.
Oh, God. The idea of the Sheriff of Nottingham turning into Robin Hood, or the Sheriff being more sympathetic and Robin Hood being less sympathetic, is a cool idea. That is an interesting idea that they completely just
I'm not saying
dropped.
it could have been a good... I'm not saying if it could have actually worked, but it sounds interesting.
It sounds more interesting than what they did. But, yeah, I think we're ready to move on to Three Musketeers. Do you think so?
Got it.
Yeah. So let's press play on this audio clip.
Release the Schumacher cut, you cowards.
God damn it. 3, 2, 1, go.
First frame of the movie is a shot of Athos.
I'll talk about that later. Never mind.
Okay. Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
It looks like a stormtrooper, or if you've seen the character, I think his name is like Schmidt.
We're talking about
the first Hellboy movies. It looks exactly like Schmidt.
You're going step by step through the plot
blackface
of Three
mask.
Musketeers.
No,
and
I'm going step by step through the opening.
Comes out of the water, pulls out two shotgun looking things,
probably one of the better
blows
parts,
away two Englishmen or Italians.
This movie is
weird,
so weird and
foreigners.
He
shoots two
Robin Hood was like a boring, dull drudge ever since the beginning, and never really stopped being a boring, dull drudge. This movie starts out on kind of a high note, and then just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
But not worse in a boring, dull drudge way. Worse in the plot completely jumps the shark and goes off the rails.
And
and not in a fun way. It's like it starts kind of fun.
It was kind of fun, but also not fun enough for me to ever watch again.
And they make it clear that this isn't just going to be a one-time thing, because the next second is Milady.
Okay, here's what we're talking
played
about.
Played by Mila Jovovich. Shows up, pretends to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna shoot you," but they're being flirtatious about it.
In the first
she
scene,
gets a title card.
In the first,
that says,
the title card.
Milady.
The movie starts out with some fun,
I have
flashy
to tip my hat
character
because she's
title
literally
cards.
called Milady.
The movie starts out with some fun, flashy character title cards.
Aramis has his Assassin's Creed moment where he has a hood on, he jumps, and he literally does a falcon dive onto someone who's either like raping, not raping a woman.
That is a good point.
But he's getting frisky with a woman.
It seemed like it had a style,
and then he knocks him into the water.
It seemed more stylistic than it was from those.
My favorite,
but I
suppose Suicide Squad.
You're right. Suicide Squad pulled the exact same trick.
This is basically just the Suicide Squad of
Aramis is Luke Evans, and he looks incredibly
European folklore figures.
He looks so much like Orlando Bloom that we thought that was Orlando Bloom.
Decisions by DC and Warner's.
For reference, Luke Evans plays Aramis.
So Porthos does his
Macfadyen
thing where he's chained to a wall. But then
Orlando
he breaks the
Bloom
chains
plays
because
Jacob
he's so
Buckingham.
big and
strong.
strong.
And they all look similar enough to confuse them occasionally.
No, Logan Lerman plays.
Did I say no?
It
Logan
feels
Lerman plays
self-aware
D'Artagnan.
about how it's like and
Athos
none of these people are gonna be actually taking that seriously. But the movie has fun with it,
like an Orlando Bloom.
But then, it'll go completely off the rails. But that's for later. So all the Musketeers gather together to share their keys, which they got from all the people they respectively took down, and that gets them access to
talk about that while we're trying to keep up with the old
hot air
recording.
balloon warship combo, an airship.
But for the record, yes, I would be fine with an what I would prefer is a fighter pass where each fighter also came with an Echo fighter. Maybe not necessarily of them, but of someone in the
actual
roster.
Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
Sorry, back to the movie.
Yeah. Back to this exciting movie where D'Artagnan.
We haven't gone to D'Artagnan yet.
And he shows up to be Cuckingham.
Oh yes. Orlando Bloom shows up, cucks the female character named Milady from Athos, I believe, was the one who was with her. Athos, played by Matthew Macfadyen. Of the 3 movies, this is Matthew Macfadyen's biggest movie. This is his biggest role. And his best.
Is there a unifying theme of cuckolding in all
There's
3
also
movies?
a scene where she's running down the Indiana Jones hallway.
Not in Nutcracker.
With, like, the
There's no
shooting
cucking
arrows.
in Nutcracker.
But like,
because
her
has,
trick is to just keep running forward and hope it doesn't get her.
Yeah. Also, the Nutcracker has no character.
There's no characters to cook. Three Musketeers.
Three Musketeers. Let's focus on Three Musketeers.
While wearing what I can only describe as like
Saskatoon.
slutty Belle cosplay.
Oh yeah, Milady is played by Mila Jovovich, and she is very sexualized the whole time. Didn't you say? I'm pretty sure you told me that the director of this movie. She's his
Paul
wife,
W.S.
right?
Anderson.
Oh wait, here we go.
Maker of
You're
the
gonna
brilliant.
talk about it. Or you're going to talk about it. I don't know. I feel like every time we start talking, you start talking in this. Paul W.S. Anderson is Mila
famed
Jovovich's
director
husband.
of such classics as the first Mortal Kombat movie, Event Horizon, and every single Resident Evil.
Paul, I can't get off unless my wife
every
is leather.
single
and it's in
one.
the movie. She is in like almost every single Resident Evil movie. So there's a trend there. He always casts her in his movies and then has her do tons of sexy action stuff.
It seems fun.
Can we talk about how weird that is?
It feels like
it's really strange.
It feels
but
like
you know what?
Anderson is trying to be
his
fun,
actor is a wife,
dumb
and there are plenty of
action.
actors who are married to like people in the industry.
We get a 1-year time jump.
None
we open
are
up
so
on
blatant
D'Artagnan
as these two.
sword fighting with his father.
And I don't think a lot of them tend to cast their significant other
much.
In roles where
does he
not
do
only
anything?
That much, but in roles where they are playing like hypersexualized characters that also like wear like
or just having his hair grow out and
or
having
cleavage
it look really, really bad.
Okay. I think we're talking about D'Artagnan's horrible hair. They gave Logan Lerman like long hair in this movie, and it's stupid. If you don't remember who Logan Lerman is, I'd argue his most notable Percy Jackson,
and also meets.
So yeah, this came out during the time period where he was in everything. So
and only gets saved from getting absolutely murdered by Mila Jovovich's character. So he meets 5 principal characters in the span of in-universe less than like an hour, and out of universe in the span of less than 5 minutes.
Talking about?
I'm just making up lies about Logan Lerman.
Okay, I was like, he didn't win a fucking Oscar.
Logan Lerman, the most interesting man in the world.
Oh my god.
He gets so mad about this that he challenges
Remember that time Logan Lerman became the spokesperson
to a
for,
duel
like,
to the death, and then he gets mad
Latin American beer.
You should be.
We're talking about how Logan Lerman meets like every major character the second he shows up in town and challenges them all to duel because he's a little whiny bitch.
He meets Mads Mikkelsen.
You're maybe supposed to
Mila
believe that like
Jovovich,
he'll just
Athos,
defeat them
Porthos,
and embarrass them, but he specifically
third
says
guy,
duels
Aramis.
to the death.
Man, I completely forgot Mads Mikkelsen was Roquefort until just now. Completely forgot that.
This is the
and they're getting ready to duel.
Yeah, you
but then
say
the
that
French
at some point
police,
in here,
the
and now
French
it makes sense. Hold
popo
on.
shows up
You'll say
to be like, "Hey, look, the Musketeers. You know, the people who don't work for us anymore. What are these assholes doing here?"
You say it. I think you say it in a little bit. I don't know. I watched this all recently, so I remember. Or we might have talked over it. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Oh yes, this is where they introduced D'Artagnan's love interest. Yep.
They're putting a huge amount of emphasis on this the nameless female character. It's probably going to be
my
his love
question.
Interest.
Who do you think has more chemistry?
We say
Robin
love
Hood and Marion, or D'Artagnan
because
and
there
Girl?
is less than zero chemistry between them.
Maybe D'Artagnan and Girl, if only because Logan Lerman and Girl were young, attractive people.
Yeah,
so
I think that.
if nothing else, you kind of were like, well, if nothing else, I kind of want to know what it looks like when they fuck. You know?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
No one wants to know what it looks like.
Well, because you
when
assume that like
Crowe fucks.
the
Yeah.
woman probably
No offense to
actually
Russell
wants to
Crowe
kiss
out there,
him
if you're
because
listening.
who doesn't want
It's
to
just
kiss
that no
Logan
one.
Lerman? Look at that.
I just
sexy
feel
face.
like you of all people know. People probably don't want to know what it looks
I
like.
mean,
Russell
I'm
Crowe-
just putting words
Russell
into her
Crowe
mouth.
is not the
I
kind of
can't actually
actor-
speak for her. I
Russell-
can just speak as myself, saying
Russell
if you.
Crowe is a daddy. He's not.
Yeah,
he's
sorry.
not like. He's not like. But he's not like a sexual daddy like some people. He's just like,
A
oh
father.
yeah,
Except, like,
I
she's
want
not
him to
really
discipline
clearly
me
that
and
interested
make
in
me
him.
a better person.
Yes.
It's supposed to. It's supposed to be like she's interested in him, but can't
Welcome
put up
to Fear
because he's
Podcast,
like
where we
an ignorant
discuss which
farm boy and it would
celebrities
look bad for her.
we want to
Where we talk about why
make
we
us
don't
call-
want to see Russell Crowe's penis while audio of Kirk talking about a movie plays over us. Fear.
But where we don't talk. Where we
We'll
talk
get
about
to
why
it
we
when
don't
we
wanna
actually
see,
get to like the
Russell
villains
Crowe's
when the
penis,
villains
but
start
we do want to see
scheming.
Logan Lerman's penis.
So like
Maybe.
they have this encounter
Maybe,
with
I
the
don't
French
know.
police. They then
like,
get taken to
I haven't
the
seen
king's
him lately.
castle.
I don't know. Maybe he
The
doesn't
king,
look so
who
good
is
anymore.
Louis the 13th,
I don't
played
want
by
to see
a
the penis
yeah.
of someone who's
pompous
like
fuckboy.
who's a 10, not a 4.
Yes, for some
Sorry,
reason.
fatty.
Okay, you know what I realized upon reading the Wikipedia that doesn't make sense? So the king, Louis the Third,
Yeah.
Louis the 13th, is like a child, right? In this movie,
Yeah.
and his queen is also like a child, or
He
like
goes-
probably like 19. There's a
Oh
whole
shit! Did they imply that
Yeah, okay.
Orlando Bloom is a pedophile?
Go ahead.
Exactly.
I'll pause.
That's what I was like. Wait a minute, because there's a whole
Yeah, I'll
subplot.
pause.
This is where I realized my OBS was having trouble in the recording. There's a whole subplot
Okay.
where
Are you ready?
where Orlando Bloom's
Okay,
character,
let's keep going.
the villain is trying to make it look like Orlando
What we were
Bloom's
talking-
character is having an
we were
affair
ta-
with the
Three
queen,
Mus-
which is
Oh,
something
by
that
the
would.
way, the villain is not Mads Mikkelsen or Mila Jovovich
All right,
or.
so we were
Well,
talking
they
about,
are villains, but the
Three
primary
Musketeers.
villain, or at least what
is-
should be the primary
the king
villain, is
the
Cardinal
cardinal.
Richelieu, played by Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
The fucker in
Inglourious
Alita.
Bastards.
And Alita. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, I like how we had different movies. For me,
Yeah.
I associate him with Inglourious Bastards because he
I
is delightfully
associate
evil
him
in
with
that movie.
history's greatest monster, Doctor. What's his name?
Yeah.
From
truly.
Alita?
And the other
No,
girl
he
has
was
like
fine.
been
Oh,
at
okay.
most
Okay.
been like
I don't
very
know.
like
Where are we? What is
uninterested
happening?
in him.
Fear.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting him confused with history's truly greatest monster.
So all that
Professor
matters
Utonium.
is that Buckingham shows up.
I'm
he
astounded.
starts-
I'm astounded that people think that Professor Utonium
How?
is a good father.
I
What
have
are we
no
gonna talk
idea
about
what
in
you're
this
talking
scene?
about, and I would much rather talk about
Oh,
Three Musketeers.
fuck.
I'm gonna be frank with you.
James.
Okay, it's
Corden.
good because we just got to the James Corden and
Oh
his
yeah,
smash
James
part.
Corden is in this movie because of course he is. Also,
This
Orlando.
This is like peak James Corden, right?
Yes, everyone tells him to shut up in this movie because this is like before
Yeah.
he was too big to tell to shut up, basically.
Yeah.
But
This is
Orlando.
like 2012, so
yeah. Orlando Bloom
This is
plays
clearly
a
James
villain.
Corden
Oh,
when
here,
he was
you're
like
basically
first
saying what I
either
just said.
when he before he
Villain.
got big or like when he was first starting to get
Orlando
big and they were putting
Bloom
him and stuff.
plays.
But they didn't know if he was going to be an actual star.
I'm actually
going
gonna pause the recording for a second because I really want to
constantly
explain
have him
this.
be the butt of the.
Hold on.
All right, I paused as well.
Before we can go back to James Corden in a second. Orlando Bloom's character, Buckingham of England, is in
Orlando
league.
Bloom, Mr. Cuckingham, yes.
Mr. Cuckingham is in league with Cardinal Richelieu to like overthrow the French crown, basically. So they concoct a plan where Richelieu frames it to look like Buckingham. It to look like the Queen.
No. Mila Jovovich is
Yes,
in league
that's
with
right.
Richelieu.
Milady. That's right. Orlando Bloom's character.
Milady,
Orlando Bloom's
Milady-
character doesn't even know about the scheme, does he? There's so many
No.
holes in all parts of this movie. But
everyone has a plan to betray another person.
and it's dumb.
It's
So-
absurd.
Richelieu's plan is to have Milady frame the Queen for having an affair with Buckingham. Buckingham is played by Orlando Bloom, who's like, how old is Orlando
maybe
Bloom?
he looks like he's like
I'm gonna click on his
relatively.
Wikipedia article to see, except it takes 8 years to load. Orlando Bloom, who's was in his 30s at the time of this movie. The plan is
And he looks like he's like been like he looks fairly old. He looks he looks the same age as like people like Athos and Porthos.
Yeah. And their plan is to make it look like he's having an affair with the Queen, who I may remind you is like 20 minimum.
Minimum.
Or maximum. I mean, maximum.
Maximum.
So,
because like she's meant to be like this like kind of awkward faux love interest for the king, who's even younger.
Yeah, who's even younger. And which just I didn't realize it until looking at the Wikipedia summary of the plot, how weird that is. It's the actual Three Musketeers story has this same affair plot, but normally I think in the Three Musketeers story, the Queen isn't like 20 years younger than the Duke of Buckingham. So normally it's not that weird.
If she is, it's excusable because, like, it's like,
if she is, you can talk it.
Set older.
Yeah, if she is, you can chalk it up to the story being written in the 1800s. But this movie, like, either keeps that or adds that. Neither is good.
And it's worse because, like, they kind of try to modernize it by like casting young actors and like people like D'Artagnan and
for reference, D'Artagnan is framed to be D'Artagnan and his love interest are framed to be around the same age as
the king
and the queen. So if you think about Logan Lerman in 2011, that should give you an idea of the age all of these characters are at.
You know, Logan Lerman, who's supposed to be like the face of like the young adults and the teens.
Yeah, exactly. It's bizarre.
20 years old max.
It's just one hole in this movie that is full of holes. This movie is like a piece of paper, and you just like if you just were to keep poking holes in the piece of paper until eventually there's no paper left. It's just a bunch of like fragments of paper.
It's Holes the movie, but not like Holes the movie. We need to watch Holes the movie.
Oh God. Okay. All right. I think we're ready to click play. Let's keep going.
All right.
The joke.
All right. What timestamp are you at?
I'm at
the joke. The funny
42:55.
Yeah, I'm like a few seconds ahead. It's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
James Corden.
In the recording, we're talking about how
witty dialogue is way into Smash.
James Corden. I think you just made the same joke now and then made it in the past.
Yeah.
That's what I love. I actually love that about editing my own videos, is a lot of times I'll make a joke to myself, and then me in the video will make the same joke. It's very amusing.
Like political squabble stuff that goes on in the palace.
It's funny because I have the same sense of humor as myself.
Cardinal Ritchley, who is the principal antagonist, he's the one who... it turns out that not only did Milady betray the Three Musketeers, she also is apparently betraying
Buckingham to work for
Buckingham.
Cardinal. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This betrayal scheme is too complicated.
Sextuple agent. She's
emphasis on the sex. I think I just made the same joke in the old recording because you reacted to it.
She's got like a sort of like kind of low cut top is kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, like this plan, like I don't even want to describe it. It is so goddamn needlessly complicated.
To be fair, the plan is needlessly complicated in the original story too. They really didn't change that much. I'd argue
which is like where the movie starts to die.
But the problem is that like
because that's
engagingly complex. They just make it like
no. Until the airships are introduced, this movie is actually pretty close to the plot of the original story.
But it's the foreshadowing of the inevitable death.
Or at least adaptations.
Because the airships take over the movie.
The airships, you just said it in the recording. The airships take over the movie. Buckingham flies in an airship, a literal, like a hot air balloon warship. He arrives
making you think he's going to be the main
hot air
villain.
Balloon on a battleship.
Yeah. And then you think, oh, that's just a cool aesthetic choice. that becomes the whole movie in the third
We
act.
forgot to mention the sound mixing in this movie is
it going to be
atrocious.
cool steampunk Three Musketeers? No, it just becomes.
They're trying to be Pirates of the Caribbean.
It becomes like that's specifically what they're trying to do.
Everyone
but also it's also
we're not really
reminiscent
wants
of
to
Stardust,
talk based on how my audio is going.
Do you remember Stardust?
We're not a professional.
I don't remember.
Film crew.
Most of the time when you ask me, do you remember? I don't remember.
In their
or
rooms.
didn't know.
Stardust was a movie
and
adapted. Actually, hang on.
Sorry.
Wait a second. Keep going. I'm gonna.
Okay. You're gonna go get Stardust. The only Stardust I know is Stardust Crusaders. Me in the video is rambling about something, probably about airships.
The diamonds, the Milady.
Or how stupid Milady's plan is. Yeah, that's what it is. Milady has her own plan to get diamonds in this movie, and it's very strange.
Stardust is a movie adaptation of the Neil Gaiman book Stardust.
And he's like, "Why should I help you?"
Is this like a
And then she kisses him, and he's like, "Is someone bothering you,
so it's kind
Queen?"
Of like, sort of
whatever you're saying about Stardust just got completely overwhelmed by you going, "Is it bothering you, Queen?"
I don't know.
Am I talking about how
you could have had?
You're talking about how you could have had D'Artagnan about how the girl who D'Artagnan is into goes from
in their plan is what I mean. In their big epic plan.
Also, I don't
D'Artagnan would have fulfilled the same role.
It's also like, I also don't really like you that much.
Yeah, she doesn't even like him that much until they kiss.
That's where the movie really falls apart, but we're not quite there yet.
I think the movie is trying to imply that she likes him and she's just coy about it, but it seems like she doesn't like it.
They need to get the jewels back to prove the Queen's innocence.
He keeps pestering
her.
So
they set
until she likes him.
And here's where they start making a plan. Their plan is...
Real talk, I'm going to pause it for a second. It's very telling that, I'd say half of all Hollywood romance stories are male pesters female until she falls for him.
And people wonder why Hollywood producers and stars keep getting outed as sexual offenders.
I'd go even farther than that. The fact that those are the romances in so many movies, people wonder why society in general has so many problems with those people. It's because so many movies just say, well, if you pester the girl you like enough, eventually you'll get her.
So and that teaches people even if they're not stupid enough to be like, oh, I just need to keep trying until it works. It creates this worldview of well, that's how they got the girl, so why shouldn't I be able to get the girl the same way?
And hopefully, ideally, you learn from experience that doesn't work. I feel like, not that I've ever been, a predator or anything, but I definitely learned in, middle school, early high school, that is not how that works.
We're all dumb. We're all young and dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all influenced by media. There's always that point where, you either learn, oh, this isn't how the real world works.
Or you never learn, and then you become...
You become an incel simp man,
or a predator, depending on how successful you are.
I've never really mentioned this on the podcast, but I like the use of the term simp because it takes emphasis away from it takes the emphasis away from blaming the girl and instead blaming the guy for being such an idiot, for being such a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because incel is, involuntary celibate.
Yeah, incel is definitely
it's not my fault that I'm an incel. It's the women's fault. As opposed to a simp.
People proudly identify as incels. No one proudly identifies as a simp. At least I don't think. Back to three.
You put on the mask, and the mask says simp. It's not something you do willingly, but you do it for the power.
Simp
The
soda.
power of simping.
Back to the Three Musketeers.
First plan is they're going to have all the Three
diamonds.
Musketeers use their key skills of interest
I'm just reading the book now.
Get the diamonds back.
Please
the
don't.
diamonds are being kept Earth.
Do you guys want me to?
And the diamonds are thought
ASMR
to be in the Tower of London.
The Stardust by Neil Gaiman and Charles
this is important.
Vez.
They have to understand just how stupid all of the plans in this movie are.
I can describe it to you in one sentence.
D'Artagnan.
The plans are stupid and dumb, but they work.
They do. They always work, except the villain's plan. It's the hero's plan, villain's plan, equally stupid. Heroes always work. So basically,
here's the hero's plan. Okay, here's the hero's plan. Let me describe it for you. They're going to go to France. They're going to
go to England. Go to England.
They're going to go to. Sorry, you can't tell because everyone is speaking English,
and everywhere looks the same.
Everywhere looks the same.
They're going to
go
still the one airship.
England.
You know, it's not like it's
going
not
to make
world
it seem,
breaking.
They're going to make it seem like Athos, Porthos, and Aramis are the bait, and D'Artagnan is going to be the one to sneak in. And then
D'Artagnan gets kidnapped.
What actually happens?
You're explaining
making their
it in the
entire
recording.
plan worthless, or at least we think.
Here we go.
And then he gets interrogated by Buckingham, this person who Buckingham barely even knows. And
wouldn't
Milady
even know as a
wouldn't
musketeer.
even really know that he was
and
a musketeer.
And then it gets revealed, ...
and then it gets revealed.
Wait,
and
I'm
then
yelling
the
about
musketeers show up riding
airship.
the fucking warship. The airship.
They hijacked the airship.
This airship that apparently was unguarded enough for three men to be able to take it.
And also
to take it by force and like operate it entirely by themselves.
They mentioned
and then D'Artagnan reveals that they weren't the bait. He was the bait. Going against the entire plan that they explained to us.
Yeah, they make it sound like it's a stealth mission, and
they did that just to trick us.
They just hijack an airship and bomb England. By the way, they're not disguising themselves.
No, they're not.
England knows the French are declaring war on them.
Yes, it's so stupid. And the whole point is to stop the fake affair from being outed. It's
basically warfare. This is basically like if MI6 or SEAL Team 6 went in to, like, I don't know, think of a random country. Imagine if SEAL Team 6 went in not as a stealth, not Azerbaijanistan. When they didn't go in sneaking in, they went in guns blazing, hijacking like the royal defense force.
For some reason, I'm not tough. Okay.
You're having to like think of it as you're saying. This is another comparison. Could be this is the movie.
After you fail like 3 or 4 different times.
Like, it's a video game.
Yeah,
but
the
game is designed in such a way that it somehow rewards you for that anyway.
Boss fight or a stealth mission in a video game, and they're just like, "Fuck it, here's a tank. Just get on with the mission."
Or alternatively, it's like playing Metal Gear and deciding you're just gonna bum rush everybody instead of stealthing. Like
it's the brute force solution.
Yeah.
You're like, "Fuck it." That's how I describe this movie.
That's the rest of the movie after this point. Fuck it. Who cares? Airships.
Despite the fact that the entire plan is the diamonds need to be found in the Tower of London in Buckingham's
the whole point of
possession.
The mission was to go in stealthily to get the jewels back
and implicate
to
the
not
Queen.
implicate the Queen and start a war.
And then they start a war.
Guns blazing and basically start
Why
a war.
would she? That would be so
in the literal
suspicious.
sense that this would absolutely start a war, in the fact that it actually leads to a war.
No, yeah, the post-credit scene definitely
but it doesn't matter because
setting up a war.
the plan,
Milady's
plan gets thwarted.
Oh yes.
This is all because of the incompetence of the Three Musketeers.
Well, and then So Milady's in her carriage, and she has the secret diamonds that she was actually planning to steal for herself, and then it's revealed James Corden is driving her carriage, and then the airship comes and lifts her carriage up off the ground and into the airship.
All of this is like
James Corden lifts,
and this happens
removes his hood
of
and
less
says,
than 5 minutes.
"All roads lead back to me." As
You
he
could have
lifts
had
his hand to frame,
you could have had
and reveals he's
D'Artagnan
wearing the
take
Infinity
James Corden's
Gauntlet,
spot.
and then he snaps,
and just had one of the
and then he
Musketeers
takes,
get
and then
captured.
He takes the jewels.
Yeah, it's really great when I finish explaining something and then past you responds to me perfectly. That's a good feeling.
It's beautiful. I love it. It also makes it easier for me because now I don't have to think of witty dialogue.
Where it's like she's like
myself think of witty dialogue.
Exactly. See, you know what? That actually makes sense. If one of us was going to be the one to watch this whole thing through and be familiar with it before we started, it should be the person who you can barely hear the audio of, not the person you can hear. So
not the person you can hear so crystal clear that you can hear every swallow, every gulp, every struggle in breath.
Yeah, so they lift the carriage up and they hijack it.
It just jumped the shark
and then she
5
gives them the jewels,
and then
jumps out of the airship into the ocean.
Yeah. Oh no, she doesn't jump. They walk. They make her walk the plank or something, don't they? I don't remember. It's stupid.
Oh no, because they threatened to shoot
and
her
I was
at
like,
gunpoint.
Yeah,
she fell into the ocean from a fucking airship.
And I'm
30.
Dead.
Yeah, Kirk was certain she was dead, and I was like, "There's no way." And I guess who was right?
Oh my god!
Only because they made her survive a fall from the fucking
sky. by all sense of logic,
Constance
right.
gets.
But
this is
airships.
Three Musketeers, where logic goes to die.
And then Roosh.
Fuck it.
I've
gotten to the point.
Mads Mikkelsen Roquefort shows up to make an exchange. The jewels for D'Artagnan's girlfriend.
This person who we have not seen in hours.
And
then
my favorite parts of these are when you laugh, and I don't know why you're laughing because I can't hear myself.
Because we can't hear you.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly how they do this, but somehow they butcher even the most simple concept of an exchange. I don't remember how they do it.
Because
I don't. Maybe the plot summary will give me some detail. Why am I on Orlando Bloom's Wikipedia page? God damn it! I'm still on Orlando Bloom's page.
I'm losing my mind.
You really are.
I think I remember because she's tied to
this is the point
where
the wrecks entirely and never recovers.
So she becomes flying. She becomes flying.
No. Okay. Yes. Roquefort's ship shows up. They have D'Artagnan's girlfriend tied to the mast like one of those ship head things.
This movie is secretly the connecting tissue between Death
Stranding. Yeah, they have an actual ship head too, don't they? So it's just utterly stupid.
And and I don't know. For some reason, I feel like she for some reason her chest is really.
They really are.
Oh yeah, yes. It's like she's out yeah.
I think she's wearing the necklace.
Yeah. No, because they don't have the necklace at that point. They're trying to get the necklace.
And the main villains have no reason to actually engage in a hostage exchange. Because they don't actually need the diamonds.
Yeah, they don't need to actually
themselves.
Get the necklace.
All they
just
need
to make sure
the
Three Musketeers
do not return.
Yes, all they need to do is make sure the Queen doesn't have the necklace because the necklace is proof of the affair.
All they have to do is blow them out of the sky.
And they make it very clear that Richelieu, the king, gets a fake letter where they talk about how Buckingham got the necklace as a gift from the Queen.
Yeah.
If the Queen does not show up with the necklace at the big ball that the king is planning, then it will totally implicate her.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they could have just shot them out of the sky, but instead they kidnapped D'Artagnan's girlfriend,
pirates.
tie her to the mast of the ship, perform a stupid hostage exchange where D'Artagnan goes to their ship with the necklace, and she comes back to the main ship.
Why would any of them agree with this? Like,
and then, hold on.
Even D'Artagnan is like, this is a terrible exchange, but they're like, you gotta go with your heart.
That's right. Well, but then the stupid part, you know how they could have blown them out of the sky? They do the exchange, and then Rockford immediately says, all right, time to blow them out of the sky. Why didn't you just do that?
But also...
And then they just somehow win, despite being completely outgunned.
And it's like...
Both
and you start to realize
end up,
that,
crashing into France.
The main bad guy is going to be fucking
they crash into, Notre Dame, I think.
Yes, they crash into Notre Dame. Then D'Artagnan has a fight with Rockford, who, by the way...
Remember, Rockford is the fuckboy from early... Not the fuckboy.
That's the
guy from who insulted D'Artagnan's horse. The
entire feud between D'Artagnan and Roquefort is based on the fact that Roquefort insulted D'Artagnan's horse at the beginning of the movie.
He's a goon for the Cardinal, which is very important.
No, it wasn't. D'Artagnan's just a whiny little bitch.
Yeah, no one insults my horse.
But
and he loses the duel 3 different times.
Keep in mind, nobody knows that the Three Musketeers have taken this airship. So all they see are 2 airships fighting in the air.
Nobody
crashing
knows
onto a French building. How is this not a declaration of war?
All they know is that the King of Buckingham had an airship, and now an airship has crashed.
Seriously, their whole issue this movie was they don't have a cause to fight for. I'm pretty sure starting a war with Britain would be a cause for them to fight.
3 or 4 different declarations of war now.
Yeah. This is also where it starts to become clear that the primary antagonist of this movie is Roquefort and not Richelieu.
Which makes no sense.
Which is great characterization.
Roquefort has just been a goon.
It's only like that because of the dreaded sequel bait, which we'll see when we get into that part of telling the story. I don't know what we're talking about in this past recording.
He stabs him once in the shoulder.
Oh yeah, we're talking
deep,
about the fight and how dumb it is.
Which is almost right above, kind of right in the sort of heart area. Yeah. But then and then D'Artagnan loses twice essentially.
He gets disarmed.
He essentially loses twice, but still ends up surviving long enough.
Doesn't he throw his sword in the air and then catch it and stab him or something?
Get one lucky,
like that?
Not even right through the stomach. It was to the side.
It wasn't in the center of the chest, or even in the lung. It was in
It did not look. It wasn't a.
It was right.
It wasn't a fatal wound, but Rochefort is "Oh, I've been defeated," and then he falls off the building as if he was made of stone. He fell so hard, so fast.
The visuals in general don't look very good. The shot of the girl on the mast of the ship as it moves into frame looks so bad, which just adds to the comedy of it.
Everything looks so bad in this movie.
Aramis. Yeah,
there's multiple points.
It was one of the Three Musketeers. It's literally
Aramis has a bunch of weird Assassin's Creed moments.
Yeah, because he's got a hood and he keeps.
This looks like it could be a video game cutscene for Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, a lot of the shots look like video game cutscenes. I actually feel like the Three Musketeers has some serious video game level writing. Couldn't you see this? Couldn't you see this exact plot in a Assassin's Creed game?
Here's the mission where you're on the airship. Here's the mission where you're in a duel against Rochefort. Here's the sequel bait for the DLC where you take down the
Cardinal Richelieu.
The Cardinal.
Or not even. It doesn't necessarily even have to be DLC. It can just be straight up sequel bait or DLC. Either way. Yeah, the sequel bait is on tier with a bad video game ending. So.
At least the people in that movie are having fun.
I don't know what movie we're talking about. I guess Three Musketeers? I don't know. I'm going to talk about how bad the ending is. They crashed
No,
their
it's
ship.
not.
Oh, we'll get into it in a second, but first we have to get to the resolution of the diamond stuff.
No, okay.
So
they're explaining it. All right. I was wondering when they were going to get
Keep
to
in
that.
mind, the Cardinal has been the
the
secret
dumb plan
mastermind
that
behind the
somehow
schemes
fixes
this
everything.
whole time.
Except it
You were
doesn't.
thinking, okay, they just dealt with the mini boss. Now they're going
more
to
video game
expose the
comparison.
final
Right,
boss,
'cause-
and maybe the final boss, because we've seen in an earlier
is
scene
so bad.
that Cardinal can actually hold his own in a sword fight. Maybe we'll get a scene where he'll, like, after he gets exposed, in an outrage, he'll, like, grab a sword to assassinate the king, and, like,
Right, we
one
were
of the,
talking about
and
how,
one
like,
or
they set
maybe
up a scene
all
earlier where we
three
see
of the Three Musketeers
Cardinal, like,
would fight
is
him.
actually a good sword
Yeah.
fighter.
There's
and
a
we were
lot of
expecting that to pay off.
There's a lot of early movie scenes with the Cardinal hanging out with different people in the palace, either scheming or like. At first, it seems like King Louis, the kid, is going to be like kind of an antagonist because he's like complaining to
like a
Richelieu.
Prince John
An
type.
Yeah, like a
outlaw
Prince
ball.
John
like,
and Robin Hood.
irritating fuckboy.
But I think what I'm saying here is I saw a play version of Three Musketeers a few years ago, a stage version.
But the airship owned by Buckingham.
Never mind, we're talking about something else. Whatever.
I don't know. Who knows?
In this play version, they foil both Richelieu and Milady and catch them in the act at the ball. The ball that the queen is supposed to wear the necklace at. In this movie, the ball
If
does
anything,
not
they make
happen.
the Cardinal look like this was his
She just
idea.
comes out wearing the jewels.
Like it's
Yes.
like it was
And
his idea.
This is the weirdest
Yeah.
part. The Musketeers lie to make it look like Richelieu told them to go get the necklace. To like
Why?
There's no reason for them to. They know Richelieu is responsible. It's established they know Richelieu is responsible, but they
The
lie
lady tells
for
them as
no
much.
reason.
They lie to make Richelieu, the guy who was trying to usurp the throne, look good and be closer to King Louis.
And then the movie ends. The final shot is them all walking out, and they tell James Corden to shut up as he's talking.
And then
That's
we
literally
get
the last line of the movie, and then they fade to black.
And then the post-credits scene, which I think we're about to touch on. In this recap.
I think yeah. Unless it's
and then
you talking, in
and
which
then
case we'll just
and
tell
then
them what
and then oh boy.
No, I think you explain it. Or
You
not.
okay?
Oh, I think
dramatic pause.
no.
No.
Oh yeah, it
Okay.
was. You dramatic
Okay,
pause.
pause.
And I was like, what's
dramatic
wrong?
pause. Okay.
Dramatic pause.
The post-credit scene opens with
Is your recording
Buckingham
equipment still working, by the
slowly
way?
fading
Yes, it
into
is.
shot. As we then cut
I haven't had
to,
problems with OBS since I updated
Mila
it.
Jovovich somehow
That's
having
good.
survived her fall. So
There's more.
This is me saying
But
that I was
wait.
right about her not being dead.
she
Oh yeah,
fell into
she
the
was all
ocean
wet, so she fell
from,
into
like,
the ocean. They didn't catch her
10,000
or
feet
anything.
No, she was in the air.
And
we saw that they
somehow-
were above the clouds.
Somehow,
And
I
then
don't know
she
how
fell
she survived that
into the
fall.
ocean.
Buckingham fished her out of the ocean. He's like, I knew you were a snake or whatever. But he's like, we're going to go. You're going to work with me, and we're going to go.
And it's
back.
revealed that there's
We're
just
gonna
an armada. of
Pull back
airships.
to shot.
Oh, you can't hear.
And
No,
then you
yeah.
pan.
It's
And then you
you
pans
who's
up.
yeah.
reacting.
So
And here's my laugh.
they zoom out from Richelieu. He says, "We're gonna get payback." They zoom out. There's you laughing about it. We
Nothing.
zoom out to a fleet of ships. Then we pan up to an even
Cardinal
greater
is
zoom out,
still in power.
where there is an entire fleet. I'm gonna pause the video just so we can really
Yeah.
emphasize how stupid this ending is. There is an entire fleet of ships that Buckingham is sending to France. Then you pan up, and there's another entire fleet of airships flying above him that are also heading to France. So not only did they start a war, but they just like there's just it's just the sequel movie. They leave this movie with Richelieu not defeated, the war not prevented, but they leave this movie with Richelieu not defeated and the war happening. So literally the Musketeers...
Nothing was solved.
The Musketeers fail. The Musketeers
fail.
So they can succeed in the next movie that doesn't exist. I'm going to press play.
I can't wait for... Okay, yeah.
Mini boss.
I can't wait for...
I would not be
Three
surprised
Musketeers
if,
2,
like,
The
in the
Last of
movie
Us,
after
where
this,
it takes place in a post...
theoretical
French
sequel,
invasion,
it gets somehow
post-English
revealed
invasion
that
France,
Rochefort
where
survived.
The two empires have destroyed
That survived
each other.
his stabbing and fall, and like wanted
D'Artagnan must
revenge
pick up
on
the pieces of his
D'Artagnan,
life.
or like somehow like
And,
now he
reject his
respects
humanity.
D'Artagnan and decides to work with the Three Musketeers,
And then
becomes
we get a shot of
and
a bunch
becomes
of
the
English
fifth
people eating
Musketeer.
French people, and then it's like maybe we are the real monsters.
I really enjoy listening to two different versions of you coming up with two batshit insane theories about what happens in a hypothetical Three Musketeers.
How are we going to do this? Or like, is it just going to be like our commentary track, and then like as the movie comes and goes, like in between where we're talking, you'll play the dialogue or whatever?
No. I just have this audio, the original podcast
and
audio,
then we get the credits.
playing
and we should
over
say
us
that
talking.
These are some very
And-
boring.
Oh, you
credits,
do?
as opposed
as much
to
as
the
that,
Robin Hood credits.
Yes, it is.
Which were actually very.
I'm gonna pause it for a second. As much as that sounds like it would be confusing, it's not that confusing because I can pretty clearly tell when you're talking and when you from the recording is talking. Yes, I can pretty clearly tell. And I'm pretty.
What I should do is I should try to mimic exactly what I say at the exact time I say it.
Oh god. I'm gonna press.
I'll do that at one point.
You asked me if the audio's working. I'm pretty sure it is, but just in case, let's be quiet and let the original recording play for a little bit and see if my OBS picks it up. I'm gonna check and make sure. So
Okay.
I'm pressing play now.
I'm pressing play.
It had like a paint effect to it.
Yeah, okay,
where
we're
it's
good.
Like,
We're
it
good.
looks like paintings.
Okay, good.
Like
Basically,
paintings come to life.
Basically,
if you
there's a
picking
desktop
up that
audio
huge
and a
stretch of
mic.
silence.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It picks it up. I just have OBS set to desktop capture, and it just captures everything. So like if I pull up the Wikipedia pages, it'll show them. If I pull up the Zoom call, it'll show them. If I try to start a Discord video call, it'll crash because Discord sucks. But we're not using Discord anymore, so it's fine. We figured it out. The problems in episode 3 were not OBS related; they were Discord related.
But at the same time,
that was
like,
an epic yawn.
It tries to go so far out of the realm of logic and into dumb fun that it manages to go.
And manages to not be fun. Like I still honestly can't decide whether I ironically enjoy the third act of the movie or not.
This movie?
Yes, this movie. You were definitely more harsh on it than I was when we talked.
I think I was just like completely done. I was just like, fuck this shit.
It honestly leaves you dumbfounded because the movie starts out being a fairly normal adaptation of the Three Musketeers, except the occasional airship coming in.
Your audio's cutting out. Maybe it's.
Wait,
we reviewed. I'll disconnect and see if that helps.
The Nutcracker for 40 minutes.
I'll stop the recording.
Apparently we did. No. Okay, I don't think we're actually done with Three Musketeers yet.
We had some weird issues with our recording.
Weird. I love hearing us talk about weird issues with the recording on this podcast.
Final thoughts
completely unknown that our entire podcast would be pseudo lost, and we'd have to do this.
It's a piece of lost media now.
Another thing
maybe one day, one day release the Snyder cut of our audio.
Oh god.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to do just a straight up like
it's insane how
long discussion about the Snyder cut.
Oh god. At the end of this, maybe we will. I would like
maybe
to say
this will be our new longest podcast.
A good thing about part of the problem I had before is if you look at these old you can't see it,
Yeah,
but you'll be able to see it in the podcast.
It's hard and it gets really bad.
My old OBS recordings would save to a file where I couldn't properly look at how long they were unless I put them in an editor. That's how I didn't know that our podcast footage wasn't long enough. Now, after I updated OBS, I can actually watch the files properly without putting them in an editor. So I can check after we're done with this and make sure it all worked correctly without putting it in an editor.
Yeah. And, like, you know, I don't know if worst case scenario, but, like, if you need to, like, you have the MP3
and it's not,
file
like,
that I sent
insultingly
you
bad.
Original
it's just
it's podcast.
Just a little
so
too
you can
insane
just,
for
if you need to, you can just put that in there and then like mute it. Play it as you need to for the audio.
Now I'm the one yawning.
The math.
Yawn.
No.
Again.
I have no idea what we're talking about in this little section of the thing.
I think we're talking about how we stan Matthew Macfadyen.
Yeah, I think so. Matthew Macfadyen is the best part of all three of these movies, except
of course he is.
Maybe
it's so
Robin
on
Hood,
brand
because
for him.
in Robin Hood, like he's not.
I thought you were
going
to say except maybe Three Nutcracker because he was only in it for like.
He had to.
Okay,
5 minutes.
but
it's.
Okay, but of the scenes in Three Musketeers that I actually kind of enjoyed.
He's in all of them.
Yeah, he's in all of them. I mentioned that in the Three Musketeers.
It's also incredibly
I mentioned that in the Nutcracker
segment
Disney has
of this. Ever made.
Okay, I think we've moved on to Nutcracker. Nutcracker time. Nutcracker time.
Nutcracker.
Time for
nuts.
Time for the Disney movie. That is
derivative
of every other
of
Disney
both
movie.
Versions of Alice in Wonderland.
It's a Disney movie from Disney World.
It's somehow Disney is so big now that they're making the B movie versions of their own
derivative
movies.
Of Peter Pan.
They're making
Wizard
of
Oz.
The budget ripoffs of their own.
But it's basically Disney.
It's derivative.
It's derivative.
This part was painful to listen to because I kept saying things and you kept talking and then I kept cutting you off.
And I kept cutting myself off. So you could
it's derivative.
Like, listen, you can literally hear me listing all the things it's derivative. It's very.
It's derivative of what else?
Hey, look.
It's derivative of basically anything.
Hey, look.
It's made.
Listen.
I'm just gonna pause it real quick.
All right.
Let's list all the things this movie is derivative of real quick, and then we'll explain how.
Okay. Chronicles of Narnia, Alice in Wonderland.
Both versions. Tim Burton.
Both versions. Let's see what else. I can't really remember.
There was another one we mentioned in
Dumbo.
here. Dumbo. How is it? I don't think.
Tim Burton's Dumbo.
Oh, I haven't seen Tim Burton's Dumbo.
I haven't either, but from the plot synopsis, it's basically
it's derivative of Wrinkle in Time, in that both have this like weird, awkward idea. It's derivative of any Disney movie with a twist villain. It's derivative of the Santa Claus 2 starring Tim Allen in a very specific way that we'll get into. All right, let's unpause it.
It's also derivative of it was right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I know, it's right on the tip of my tongue too, but I don't remember.
It's derivative of a lot of stuff. Oh, it was derivative of, I think, Willy Wonka.
Yeah, a little bit. You say Peter Pan and Wizard of Oz in here as well. It's derivative of like any Disney fantasy thing.
Any time where a character goes into a mystical fantasy land.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's derivative of that.
All right, I
think there's specific parts where it rips off like scenes from those movies.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play.
Yeah. Play.
Yeah,
it's
I'm playing. Long stretch of silence.
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's just me saying all the things it's derivative of. Don't worry about it. We did that while pausing.
The Nutcracker.
The Nutcracker. I feel like that's the problem.
I'm describing my fashion. I'm also wearing a tank top in this.
Oh, when are you not wearing a tank top?
It also has nothing to do
with
the actual Nutcracker.
I feel like that's the problem every Nutcracker adaptation has.
I'm wearing a tank top.
They're all too derivative of other things.
I crossed the straps.
Wait, why could you? Why
Sorry,
am I
could you
talking
see?
about
Could you see
What you're
some?
wearing
TV?
when you can't even see? Yeah, this is stupid. Stupid. We are stupid. See,
Or
We are
did
very
they did they
really-
see
it's-
some
Now
male?
I can show you the male presenting nipple.
it's really funny.
I
to
don't
hear-
want to get us canceled for showing some male presenting nipple.
That's
You're
what
not
Banned
on
on Twitch
camera.
showing male presenting nipple.
I love
if I did-
hearing our
Oh,
previous
Jesus.
I love hearing our previous tangents while we also go on our own tangents. We need to try to make our tangents now line up with our tangents
No.
then. But old Kirk disagrees apparently. He said
Kirk
nah, right?
disagrees.
He said nah right as I was saying that. But anyway,
We
the
were so disappointed.
the
Oh,
Nutcracker.
we're talking about the Nutcracker.
yes.
The Nutcracker is a bit part in his own.
Maybe I'll be the Nutcracker.
No, I don't think we're talking about that yet. We're talking about how Matthew McFadyen is a bit part.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
He's
Matthew
not, he
McFadyen
barely
is also a
acted
bit
any. He didn't even look like that, like a Nutcracker when we first saw
I
him.
think
Oh
we
no,
just
never
looked
mind.
like
We are
a
absolutely
soldier.
talking about the Nutcracker. So she goes through, she follows this ribbon at this party she's at. That part doesn't matter, but it's very derivative of Alice
She
going
follows the
down the
yellow brick
rabbit hole.
ro-
Yeah, or the yellow
She
brick road.
follows the yellow brick road into the wardrobe, where she
Yeah.
falls through a hole to the center of the earth, where she then goes through the center of the earth and falls into Wonderland.
That is
It's winter.
she goes this part in
Tinkerbell
particular.
reference.
No, this
I
part.
don't want to dance.
This part in
Tinkerbell
particular
reference,
is
'cause
very
Peter
derivative.
Pan.
This part in
She's
particular
smart,
is,
unlike those dummies.
I think we're talking about something different here. Pause again because I'm insane. She goes through this wardrobe, or not literally a wardrobe, but this segment's very
She
derivative.
opens like a music box
Yeah.
or something.
She gets a music box from this guy who knew her mother, who's dead. She has an estranged relationship with her father. Her father is Matthew McFadyen. For reference, we were just gonna watch Robin Hood and Three Musketeers, but then we watched
But then we
Nutcracker 2.
saw he was in this.
Yes, we looked up Matthew McFadyen's movies, and I said, of course he's in Nutcracker. And then we watched Nutcracker because we hated our. And
thinking
then
he was going to be in like a bigger part.
he's the lead girl's father, and he doesn't get to wear Ren Fair costumes this time. He's like the only one.
He must have been so upset.
He
I
must have
feel
been
so
so
bad
disappointed.
for him.
So
I think we say that in this podcast.
we definitely do. But they go into what this part is very particularly reminiscent of Chronicles of Narnia, because the lead girl goes into the fantasy land, basically falls through a closet into
And
this
it's like, yeah, it's
into
like
this winter area, and then she meets someone who directs her to the queen of the area, which in this case is the Nutcracker. The titular Nutcracker, who does not get very much to do in this movie other than be
No.
her support character, which we do talk
Yeah.
about. So I'm going to press play and not go into that too much yet.
What are the four realms?
The four realms are the four sections of the area. That's pretty well established, I think.
I guess.
Basically, there's
but they make such a big deal about the Nutcracker and the four realms, and neither of those are really important plot points
Yeah,
by the end of the movie.
the title is a throwaway and sounds so generic that you immediately know how generic the movie's going to be from the title.
The Nutcracker and the Sorcerer's Stone.
All right, I'm going to press play again.
Okay, I'll press.
It also, yeah.
I'll press play.
I'll press play. Waggy.
Yeah.
So
It's-
so after she meets the Nutcracker, they get chased by this like mob of
Oh, I just
rats.
realized we
that form
completely
together
forgot
into
the
a bunch
second
of
bald guy in
Yeah,
Robin
it's like
Hood.
the
As
Rat
we
King
sh-
or something. I forget.
As we should.
It's
as
it
we
rips off
should
something
have.
specifically. Oh, I think it rips off
Coraline. You say it in here.
Coraline. Yeah.
And then we
Which
have an
I feel so
and
bad
then-
for Mads Mikkelsen across all three of these movies.
wait. At that time, I think
What?
you said Mads Mikkelsen instead of Matthew McFadyen. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Matthew McFadyen.
Yeah.
Mads.
But anyway, yeah. So
Mads
she has this
McFadyen.
mystical egg. She's talking to Morgan Freeman. She thinks she might.
Oh, we're still talking about the beginning of the movie? God damn it, we got very
Oh
What?
God!
What the fuck?
What were we talking about before? We went so our chaotic minds are so hard to follow
Oh wait, I
and
missed that.
recreate.
She
How do we talk
is-
about this movie for like
We
30
do this
minutes?
with every movie. have you seen episode 3?
Oh.
We talk about Joe's
Yes!
apartment for 50
I
minutes.
watched it. I watched all of it.
Like, honestly, these segments are short compared to the ones in
He's
podcasts.
basically
this
just
is like a really
the
short.
nutty
This is
professor
kind of a short
from the start
podcast.
of.
This is
Chronicles
also
of
one of the
Narnia.
few ones where we don't talk about any extra movies, really.
No, which is weird because like it's. I say it's short.
It's
about the
literally
same length.
it's literally
Yeah.
her chasing the white rabbit through the mist.
For some reason, we had so much to say about this movie that is incredibly boring, about the movie that is incredibly frustrating,
Yeah.
and about the movie that is incredibly generic.
Well, I think the thing about incredibly frustrating movies is we have to go through them plot beat by plot beat. Which
She
we
meets
did
Because
with
it
Three
brings out
Musketeers.
She
the
meets
emotions.
like this
It brings
resident
out the
of the
rage.
universe that tells her about this evil queen.
Yeah, now we're talking about what I talked about earlier when we
Who-
had us pause it. Nutcracker
I am?
and the Four Realms, I do think we probably went through the plot too much.
How much am I
And the
lagging?
reason for that is that we were trying to, like, I think what we were trying to
Okay.
do is go through and pinpoint every moment that was derivative of another Disney product. So, like,
Yeah.
Chronicles of Narnia when she fell through the door and she's in a winterland. Then they go to this palace.
The titular Nutcracker who does
Well,
nothing.
let's not
Yeah.
get. No, they don't go to the palace yet because we're still talking about the titular Nutcracker who does nothing, which I literally said like 5 minutes ago.
And of course, it's the one black character in the
Yeah,
cast.
yeah. It's one black character other than Morgan Freeman's old man guidance character at the beginning, which is like half of the characters he plays.
Fear.
By the way, apparently that character is named
And by
Oh, I
mild
talked
pair,
about the stolen
by mild pair,
Coraline
they
character.
mean nightmare fuel. There's
Appar-
lots of nightmare.
And you
This
were
movie,
confusing
despite
the
being
three
incredibly
marks.
boring, has tons of nightmare fuel.
the
By the way,
Rat King. The Rat.
by the way,
Rat
that
King
giant
is
rat
the nightmare
thing
fuel we're talking
was
about. The giant rat. Thing.
stolen from
Yeah,
Coraline.
there's a lot of
Coraline.
nightmare
That's
fuel in
another
this.
movie that you can
The
add.
movie is
the
rated
clowns.
PG for some mild peril. Some mild
No,
peril,
like-
which apparently
I mean-
means nightmare fuel.
I mean,
Coraline
Coraline is rated
is-
PG, and
is-
that
Yeah,
movie
true.
is terrifying.
We have a whole argument here about whether Coraline was produced in some way by Disney. I was
I
wrong. You
don't
were
know if
right.
I should
we
be
don't
happy
need
or
to. We can
terrified
talk
by that
over that
sentence.
because we don't care.
Yeah.
Apparently Morgan.
Go watch Coraline, you cowards.
Apparently Morgan. I actually have not seen Coraline. I don't think I mentioned that in this
Oh.
podcast, but we should watch it.
Well,
sometime.
now I know
Yeah,
what to
exactly.
add to the pod.
Coraline?
Any excuse to
Hang
watch
on.
Coraline
Hang
again
on,
is a
let
good
me-
excuse in my book.
Apparently-
so I'm probably gonna
I have
add that
Coraline
into
on
the pod.
DVD. Let me go check.
Apparently Morgan Freeman's character in this movie is named Drosselmeyer, which is a stupid name to give a Morgan Freeman character, and a stupid name in general.
I like how
We
my
haven't
face
said-
is so washed out
By the light? Yeah, that's why
Coraline.
I originally
Fear.
just had my lamp
Fear.
on, but it was
There we
washing
go.
me out, so I turned on the
Coraline.
whole lights. Yeah, there we
Coraline was made by
There we go.
Universal.
go. Your room
Now
has
you
better.
guys can.
Your
now you
room
can
has way
finally
better
see my
lights than
beautiful
mine do.
face.
This is my room.
Nightmare. It
This
was
is my
probably like
room
Nightmare
with the
on
lamp
Elm
on
Street.
and the
'Cause they were
headlights on.
Made by the same
I
creative
can't wear my
team.
glasses on.
Nightmare Before Christmas on Elm Street.
I mean, you can put them on. We're just not going to be able to see your
Anyway,
eyes.
You're just gonna. I'm gonna be the. I am the computer.
You are the
the Rat
computer.
King.
The
I
Rat King.
have such sights to show you.
Did your camera? Oh,
Yes. Yes, Kirk.
Yeah.
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Also, this
I should
movie,
just start
despite
make,
coming
I should
out
just start
years
like making
after
fun of
this,
myself.
it's also incredibly.
Next time I
Twinkle
talk, I'm gonna make
Time-esque.
fun of myself.
What did he just say it was derivative of? I don't know. I'm not rewinding. I don't
know.
care.
Who
It's
gives
too
a
it's
shit?
too hard to rewind because if
Really?
if I try to
We're
rewind, I'd have to go back like a minute
Yeah.
or so because the
On my
scroll bar is
recording,
so
it says
tiny.
we're approaching 2 hours, so I don't give a fuck. We're just.
Are
burning
we?
through this.
Oh.
Well,
Yes,
because we
are.
stopped and paused.
Yes,
Because we
we've
stopped and
we've
paused. And
paused-
this is an hour and 40 minutes.
We've paused the original footage enough that we're gonna have probably about an extra half
Yeah.
hour or more added on to.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
This
they
is-
they only
this
know
is
how
an
to
Easter
create
egg.
empowering
Yes, this
characters
is an
by
Easter egg for our
unempowering
podcast
all the other
fans.
women in the movie.
Podcast 3 was almost 3 hours long, so this can't possibly be worse than that.
Yeah. It literally, like, I don't know. Like, unless we want to go on a 5-hour tangent about Zack Snyder and Oeuvre, I don't think it can be that long.
I like how.
One of them's like a weird pixie girl.
Oh, we're talking about the leaders of the four realms. So the
Looks
four
like-
realms
He
are
looks
basically.
he looks like
Like
live action Claude.
Spring, summer, winter, fall. I
Yeah,
think.
although in the movie they're titled based on other things.
Who
They're like the
turns-
realm
who
of
spoilers
flowers,
is our
the realm
twist
of blah blah
villain.
blah. So they're like trying to deny that it's
Oh
just the
my
seasons, but
gosh,
they're not.
guys!
But it's like the seasons are places that you can go to. I think
Yes,
is the idea.
Yeah, and the castle is right in the middle.
Or
and
the fact that
It's
she's
dumb.
the fall and the autumn area, which is called the land of amusement.
or the
parks,
fact
I
that
think.
she's the only one of the four leaders of the realms that gets any
And they
screen
have
time
weird
after her
clowns
introduction.
that stack on top of
Yeah,
each other.
I'm sure we'll get to that. But the autumn region is the
For some
destroyed
reason,
one.
for some reason, I remember you downplaying how terrifying that was.
Look up on
I
They
think-
were
YouTube,
basically like a
Nutcracker
Matryoshka
Ballet.
doll.
I
A living Matryoshka doll.
it's-
yeah. They like pop out of each other. It's weird. And more fear-inducing material. I think I was
More
so desensitized
fear.
from like Meet the Feebles and such that didn't even.
This is
affect
only our third episode. How are we that desensitized?
That's true. I mean, we then watched. I mean,
Also, what is this? What were you going off on?
I
that
have no
lasted that
idea.
long?
What's He's
okay.
gonna- yeah.
You know what I'm noticing? The further we get into this, the less we attempt to follow our original mock-up. Like Robin Hood,
No.
we were keeping pace. Three Musketeers, we were kind of
I was-
keeping pace.
It's pretty
Well,
terrible.
'cause I don't.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not even afraid of
Well,
clowns.
because like
and it
I
was
just
pretty
don't think
unsettling.
like I made the joke of making commentary track, but that's only because I
Mild
think
peril.
commentary tracks are boring.
Hang on.
See, I actually like commentary tracks, so we may
I'm
I
differ.
looking
wanted
at
to use this
Scary,
as an excuse to just shoot
Coraline
the
was
shit.
Yeah,
rated PG
honestly.
also for
Well, okay, the
thematic
thing is,
elements, scary images, some language, and suggestive
why
humor.
are we talking about Coraline again? The other two of these
Because
movies.
this movie is a very
Well,
because
Coraline
we
is
need to
a
watch
great-
Coraline rather than this piece of
yeah.
shit.
Coraline is
Okay,
a great
the thing-
example of child horror done right.
You know what I
I'll
think
probably
it is?
do an entire video about Coraline.
You know what I
someday.
think it is?
Sorry, an entire
What is it?
500 word,
I'm gonna wait until he finishes.
an
talking.
entire 500 word Instagram post about it.
The first two movies we did were.
They get the key. She uses it to open up the music
Okay,
box.
I'm just gonna
but
pause it. Shut up.
Okay, I'll pause it too.
The first two movies we talked about were interesting enough. Not interesting, but we had enough to say about them that we felt the desire to keep pace. Nutcracker in
This?
the
Who gives a
Nutcracker
fuck?
in the Four Realms is so forgettable and so boring that I don't care about whether or not we're keeping whether we're matching what we
Do
originally
you
said.
think
Like, who
Disney even
cares?
remembers that they made this?
Apparently, I don't know. I mean, yeah, no,
Like-
they don't.
like, do
They've
you-
already forgotten.
Like, do you think this is like something that they like? They're such a draconian and like large eldritch horror of a company that they just made this by accident and they didn't even realize.
Oh my
It's like-
god.
Like they put the ingredients together to make one movie and they accidentally made an entirely separate movie on the side without even realizing it. And then they were like,
This
well,
movie
we might as
does.
well see if we can make a profit out of this.
This movie does just feel like the discarded scraps of other movies.
It's like they had a cat. They had footage for like a Wonderland movie. They had footage for like a Victorian era movie.
They had footage for
of-
Wrinkle in
this-
Time, maybe a little bit of extra Wrinkle in Time
Yeah.
footage, and they just
They
melted
had
them all.
footage for like this story about like a white girl and her black friend going on an adventure or something.
And
And they decided to just throw it all in a melting pot.
the
and
main
be like,
character
let's
was
slap a
was
name
the
on it.
main character full on white?
I mean,
re-
she's a Victorian English girl.
well, I don't
that's
remember
pretty
because-
white.
Hold on, I can just look at the Wikipedia page and the post. Oh yeah, she's very white. Okay, I
She's
forgot.
very
I-
white.
See, I was confusing it with A Wrinkle in Time, where the protagonist is black, and they make a very big deal about being very progressive in that regard.
It's very progressive of us to do the bare minimum,
Yes, that's
and I think you guys and I really would appreciate it if you applaud us.
That's how all Disney movies feel nowadays. I'm restarting the footage because I'm sure at some point we're gonna hear us talking about the twist villain, and that's
It's
an issue.
just
The secret spoopy twist.
Yes, because
Like it's barely a 2-hour movie. No, it's not even a 2-hour movie.
To
yeah,
Jack
and this
Frost
was that.
too?
Jack Frost. Oh yeah, you do make a. I get. Oh no, Santa Claus 2 is later.
Santa Claus 2.
And like
Jack
this
Frost
movie is
2.
like
Jack Frost is in the third
45
one.
minutes in, they get the
I
key,
know
and
my
like,
Tim
okay,
Allen Santa
well,
Claus.
Obviously, the key's not going to solve all the
You're
problems.
Tim Allen. I'm the Scooby-Doo expert. You're the Tim Allen Santa Claus expert.
Yeah.
With our powers combined, we somehow make a podcast.
That's pretty much. We're just combining our. We each have way too much knowledge of like certain movies,
Very
and we just sort of
specific things.
yeah, and we just sort of meld them together.
Very much.
And the only overlapping thing
kind of
is,
reminds me of. For some reason, it reminds me of Bridge to Terabithia.
Joe!
So
now, at least
the movie sets it up as the leader of the Autumn region is the Autumn realm, like that she's the villain,
Yeah.
because her realm is all destroyed. But it's actually the leader of the Spring realm. She's the antagonist, and she has a whole scheme that I think we talk about a little bit later. But that's what.
Yeah.
All of these Disney movies have twist villains, and it's so annoying. It's like they think that they can't just have a character be evil for the sake of being evil anymore. Like they're gonna.
Well, because that's
She
not
needs
realistic.
constant
You need to have a character
validation
who
from
has
everyone
It's not
around
realistic,
twist
and
to
it's
be
not
evil.
progressive.
and like all of her
We need to
plans
have a
go like
character who has
basically
a twist
go awry
to be evil,
immediately,
then
and
acts completely
afterwards she
cartoonishly evil.
Yeah.
completely falls apart.
Oh yeah,
Progressive!
that's the
I
other
don't
thing
know.
we're talking
Is
about
that
in here.
progressive?
That's the other thing we're talking about in here.
To take away the characters that like people were able to identify with and find empowering. And how are you still talking?
It's not so much that I'm still talking, but more that we are but more that every time you talk, every time you talk in this recording, we start talking or keep talking.
Well, because I normally when you talk, I be silent to give you, so that we don't interfere with each other's microphones or whatever, or talk over each other. But like with this, you just see that like there's a flaw in that system when one of our audio systems, one of our audio files fails. Because now there's just large stretches of nothing.
I think what it is this is the part where I go on my rant about how fake Disney progressive doesn't work. How they always have these female protagonists, this and A Wrinkle in Time in particular, have these female protagonists where the fact that they're smart and creative and intelligent is what makes them unique, and so you're then thereby implying that other women are not like that, and so then you say it in here somewhere. You're only
you should post like put like a picture of it here if you can find it.
Put a picture of what? We don't know. Shut up.
Put up of what? What are you
talking about?
What are you trying to do?
And then I hear you say
cracker nut. I'm sorry for that joke. I'm sorry for that joke, everybody.
This is where
what are we talking about?
This is where the commentary track completely evolves because Nutcracker and the Four Realms is so uninteresting that both past us and current us don't know how to talk about it.
Yeah.
No one knows what to do with this fucking movie.
All right. Every time I pause, like, let's let the recording talk. It's just me rambling.
Clara gets locked up. Then she gets another pep talk. She finds out. That the message was that the strength to do stuff comes from inside me.
That's
not them.
That's another thing.
I literally like the instant that the box did not reveal itself to be like
the music box
part
that
of
she
the
gets
puzzle.
At the beginning of the movie.
I was like,
it's
just going to be a message of
isn't the secret
be yourself.
The secret is be yourself. The power that's inside you. The only movie that I've ever seen that does that well is Kung Fu Panda.
Because with Kung Fu Panda, like because with Kung Fu Panda, like the whole story was about
because they actually like they actually make it like
this is you
they
reacting
make it
to
interesting
the
where
exact
it's like
same thing
it's
I
not
just
like
said.
the character like realizing something's wrong about them. It's like trying to appeal to the villain by being like, you don't need this to be special.
We're talking about
You're special
We are
just
talking
because
about
you're
Kung
you.
Fu Panda in this clip.
I think why it works in Kung Fu Panda is that not only is
it's
it
also a
it's
great
like
subversion because you
has
expect it
built
to be
everything up about this mysticism
because they've done so
like
many
this
mystical
Chinese
elements.
mysticism,
You
that the
expect it to
reveal
actually
that
be
the scroll
something
is
mystical,
actually just
but it's
self-belief
not.
works.
Yeah.
I also think it's because a lot of the movie is about
We're talking about
characters
this.
not being true to who they are. So when the message comes, just be yourself, it's reassuring.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
reassuring to Poe because it shows that he always had it in him to be a great warrior.
And I also I do like that his
main villain, because our main villain at the end of the day is still just that angry kid trying to prove that he's better than everyone.
We should just talk about Kung Fu Panda instead, because Kung Fu Panda is actually a very good movie.
Can we talk about how like Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon are so much better than Shrek, and yet Shrek is the one that got like memed and popular?
I've never been huge on How to Train Your Dragon. It's just a personal thing. The movie doesn't quite click with me. I haven't seen any of its sequels.
But it turns out it was all a diversion.
It's not bad, but it doesn't quite click.
If it doesn't click with you, you're not going to be interested in seeing the others.
Yeah.
But like, I highly recommend giving it a shot because it's one of my favorite DreamWorks films. It's one of my favorite animated films series ever. And I think a lot of that just comes down to like how like the character writing and the animation.
Yeah.
Except it's not like she's.
What are we even talking about?
I think we're talking about the villain's
The machine doesn't bring
AKA,
toys to life.
AKA the
It
part
just makes
that
them,
rips
like,
off
big.
the Santa Claus 2. This, you know what? This is the
Santa
important
Claus
part.
2,
This is
Electric Boogaloo.
And like when it shrinks someone down, they don't become tiny people.
Pause
They
it for
just
a
become.
Are you about to go off?
I know we keep pausing, but I'm about to go off. So the villain's plan is to create an army of toy soldiers.
Ass.
The villain's plan is to create an army of toy soldiers using a machine that turns toys. It's confusing what the machine does because she uses it to.
Seems to turn toys into real things and real things into toys.
It turns the toy. Yeah, it seems to do that, but then they're also in like a toy realm. So technically, they're all kind of toys, and also she. Sometimes the machine turns toys into full people, and sometimes it turns them into mindless soldiers, and sometimes it turns people into toys, so it's really unclear. But the specific element of villain uses a machine to create evil toy Christmas soldiers is directly ripped from the Santa Claus 2 fake Santa villain scheme in such a similar way. Even the designs of the toys are similar. It's ripped off.
Santa Claus 2 Electric Boogaloo.
It's ripped off in such a direct way that I don't think it's just coincidence. I think they literally stole the idea from the Santa Claus 2, and because that movie is also Disney, and because nobody cares about the Santa Claus 2, nobody called them out on it. I think they literally took the idea. Which is hilarious to me.
It is truly hilarious.
And what's even more hilarious to say is that the Santa Claus 2 does it better.
Let's play.
Yeah, let's play.
Let's play this shit. Let's get through these last 10 minutes.
Is it just 10 minutes? Thank God.
It's 10 minutes online.
Like, what would these toys? What would those be in the real world? Like, would they be toys of toys, or would they be real people?
I just don't want to hear us talk about the
Did Miss
Nutcracker
Clara
anymore.
just bring in like?
Yeah. Hang on, I'm gonna go get the lightsaber ready now.
Yeah,
so that I can just use it.
Actually, you know what? You get the lightsaber. I'm gonna get a water bottle. We're just let's just let people listen to the recording.
Let's just let the audio play for a few minutes.
Maybe Kirk will say something.
Can you repeat that? You kind of cut out there. Okay. He's the only black character in this movie, and besides Morgan Freeman, and he's the nut. And he does nothing. in his movie, in a movie called Nutcracker and the Four Realms.
We really just said bye. Sorry, guys.
Did you miss me?
Did you? Sorry to keep you waiting.
Matthew.
Are we talking about... let us know what happened while we were gone in the comment section below.
Let's pause it. Sorry, I didn't say it before I paused it. Because there's one last thing that I talk about in here that I want to talk about, and I'd rather just talk about it without having to fight with the old audio.
Yeah?
It's related to Matthew Macfadyen, so it's important. The one scene in this movie that actually kind of works is at the end of the movie, after she comes back from Nutcracker Land, after she's stopped the villain. She comes back with like a new so she was feuding with her father at the beginning of the movie. She comes back at the end. It mentions this in the plot synopsis. She and her dad like apologize to each other, and then I can read the Wikipedia description of the scene. She and Benjamin, that's his name, apologize to each other, and she finally decides to dance with him. They were at a party, and he wanted to dance with her, and she didn't want to. In the beginning, he
was all like, "Shut up and dance with me."
He accepts, and Clara opens her music box. Benjamin reveals that the music was the first song that he and Marie, Clara's mom, the main character's mom, had ever danced to. They danced through the night in the ballroom. This scene is the only one that kind of works for me, entirely because Matthew Macfadyen is acting very well in this scene. Yeah, he's the only actor that's not too big. Like, all the other actors in this movie are either children or they're too big to care about the movie. Like, they're giving throwaway.
I didn't even know we were making a movie.
Matthew Macfadyen is the only one who's like...
I was just tired to do fill-in work because they had some B-roll they wanted to turn into an actual movie.
And because of his performance in this scene as he tells her about his history with her mother and the music box, and they have this sweet moment of connection at the end that, despite the fact that nothing else in the movie works, that scene kind of worked for me entirely because Matthew Macfadyen gives it gives you a feeling of emotion that the rest of this movie does not give you. It's the first time I care, and it's like the last scene of the movie too. It's really a great thing when the first time you care about a movie is in the last scene.
I have no words.
Fear! This thing has devolved into chaos. Let's just play
Matthew McFarkus.
Yeah.
Press play.
Press play.
I press play, and immediately you say
Matthew
McFarkus.
Matthew McFarquad. Matthew.
Okay, from now on, let's just let the last 9 minutes of audio play.
Shameless ripoff of everything that's come before it.
Because I don't want to pause this anymore.
We're just gonna let it play.
We're just
if
gonna
we talk over it.
If we talk over it, it'll go away.
It barely looks any more flashy than the fucking sets from Brothers Grimm, and I hate Brothers Grimm.
You're talking about,
no. We're talking about how set design, how the real world looks just as fantasy as the fictional world, which is actually something in the reception category of the Wikipedia page. One of the reviews says that exact same thing.
It's a feature-length advertisement for Disney World.
The thesis we come to at the end of this is Nutcracker in the Four Realms is a Disney ride disguised as a Disney movie.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a scene in the middle where they
straight up not watch
a Nutcracker ballet.
Two abysmal ones and one.
Honestly, that's the second best scene in the movie, only
almost
because the ballet
is good, but not really.
Yeah, this ballet that's we've been
talking
like tertiary to the plot.
Yeah.
It's just exposition.
Yeah, it's exposition through ballet, which is kind of cool, but like.
Yeah.
It's the only specifically Nutcracker thing about this Nutcracker movie.
Yeah, I don't. Do they even play the Nutcracker theme at any point?
I don't know. I mean, do
I
they
think
ever
they
call
do.
Robin
It's not gonna
Hood
get a sequel.
2010 Robin Hood?
Or even Robin Hood 2010?
I mean, it came
They
out in
should embrace it
2018.
and
What else
make
came
him
out in
like
2018?
a retro futuristic Robin Hood.
Honestly,
Did it
I
come out
wouldn't be
around
opposed
Christmas?
to a sci-fi Robin Hood adaptation. It sounds more
Cyberpunk
interesting than
Robin
the
Hood?
2010 one. Wait,
A
Nutcracker
cyberpunk Robin Hood would
2018.
actually kind of slap.
yeah,
I wouldn't. I'm not even joking.
yeah. That could that could be-
October.
We're now talking about when Nutcracker and the Four Realms came out and debating whether or
Yeah,
not
I
it's a
guess,
Christmas
but
movie.
it also-
Like, who cares? Who cares?
Why are we doing? Why? Who gives a shit? It's Nutcracker in the Four Realms.
Exactly. In fact, I'm closing all of these Wikipedia tabs now. Goodbye, cruel world. Goodbye, cruel lost episode. We then
I
talk.
don't know what I'm
Is she
laughing
in a
about.
villainous pose?
In this part we're
Is the
talking about
Nutcracker even on the poster?
we're talking about the movie's poster, which gives Morgan Freeman a bigger spot than the Nutcracker. This is you laughing at the fact
Is
that we
Michael-
thought the Nutcracker
Mike-
isn't on the poster, but then we realized he is. He's just tiny.
Oh my
Unfortunately,
god!
I'm going to edit in an image of the poster.
That's our
and
Nutcracker,
I'm going
ladies
to
and
edit in
gentlemen.
an image of the poster for the movie, and you can find the Nutcracker and then compare
And
his size on
Wait,
the poster
real
to
important
Morgan
question,
Freeman.
though.
And
Is
like
Michael
I've
everyone
edited
else.
in that
Farquaad
image
in
of SpongeBob like
Matthew
staring at it
McFadel.
like this.
Matthew
Hands
McFatality.
out,
Is
his
he
eyes
in there?
squinting.
Oh wait, Matthew McFadyen, is he in the poster?
Fuck.
Is he?
He's
That's
not-
how you know this movie is trash.
Damn it.
They did not put Matthew McFarquad in the title.
You know what? Maybe I'll just edit Matthew.
Release the McFadyen cut.
Maybe I'll just edit Matthew McFadyen into the poster and put that on screen right now. You know what? I'm doing it. I hope you enjoy. I'll use Snapchat. I'll just make a Matthew McFadyen sticker and stick it in the
release
poster.
the Matthew
I was gonna say I was just gonna
McFunion
make
cut.
a bad Photoshop of it, and I was gonna
I
send
don't
it to
use
you.
I don't use Photoshop. I'm truly advanced. I use Snapchat stickers.
Do we want to banish one of them to the
Snapchat
abyss?
stickers.
I've made some Photoshop tier edits using Snapchat stickers.
Oh wait, I
Damn.
think
Well,
this
did
is
you see
basically
any
the
terrible
end of the
movies that you want to
podcast
banish
of
to
the
the
Yeah,
abyss
pretty much.
recently?
We
Do we
honestly
want to pause it and just
I
cut
know-
and then
I want to banish.
we don't even need to pause it. Just close it.
all right.
The rest of it is just us deciding what we're going to exercise and then not exercising anything. So it's time to exercise this file. Fear Podcast Lost Levels Original Audio. I'm
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
do
We're
that.
not doing that.
Future, Coleman. Don't listen to past Kirk.
I think I just laughed at the same time the audio recording of me did.
I have to get into character.
Alrighty. I have a little window. I have a little window on my screen pulled up that has just the Fear Podcast Lost Levels audio file, and you are going to exercise it. I'm going to stick it right next to you in the middle of the screen, and then you're going to exercise right where Matthew McFadyen's face cam would be on our Discord call. It's exorcism time.
Fear Podcast, The Lost Levels. You despicable, vile, contemptuous frauds. You promised your viewers anarchy, fear,
Well, they did get that.
despair, and disgust, and instead all you give them is bad feedback on microphones, poorly edited footage, and a lost
and way too much talking about the Nutcracker and the Four Realms.
You will pay for your crimes of talking about a boring movie that not even the creators of the movie gave a fuck about.
The creators probably talked less about it than we did.
What do you have to say for yourself before I strike you down?
Intense slurping noises. Intense breathing noises.
Avasti!
All right, we did it. We exiled the file, and
right.
I'm going to delete the file on my computer to symbolize it. I can restore it.
I'm gonna pause my video because it's basically done.
Yeah, I forgot you left it playing. I turned mine off a while ago.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We did it. We made it through this.
Fear.
We excavated the lost podcast and realized it wasn't worth
it.
We buried it back again.
We're gonna rebury it right next to the ET landfill. All right. So before we send you guys off, let's re-give you guys our where you can find us. You can find me at the Captain Kirk on Instagram, _Captain_Kirk. Captain is spelled with a K. You can find me posting reviews, workout progress posts, shit posts, and an upcoming Scooby-Doo / Josh Whedon retrospective there.
I don't know why you haven't made a YouTube channel to talk about this stuff yet.
Because do you want to watch me?
You don't even have to be in front of the camera.
Whedon?
You could just like.
Where can they find you, Coleman?
Chuck Batman 5 on Instagram. I also have a second YouTube channel called Chuck Batman 5, which it's really funny editing Fear Podcast 3 and realizing that you didn't even know about my second channel because I mentioned it in that video and you're like, you have another channel? So nobody knows about that channel. It has like a fraction. It's where I upload more gaming videos there, but also like, do we...
You're such a hardcore
who
gamer.
Wants more? That's the question.
That you need you're such a hardcore gamer that you need a second channel for your gaming videos.
The original idea was that my gaming videos on this channel were shit, and so I'd move them over to that channel, except they didn't actually... They got, like, marginally less shit on that channel, but they're still... They got technically slightly more competent, but not necessarily any better commentary or gameplay. I'm really selling my channel here.
Yeah, you're doing a great job promoting your brand.
Yeah, promoting my brand. Before we
How are they supposed to consume the Coleman oeuvre?
If you really want to get my oeuvre, actually no, that's not true. I was gonna say if you really want to get my oeuvre, go back to the cringy vlogs that I made in middle school, but that's not the oeuvre of current me, that's the oeuvre of middle school me. I keep those up more as like something to laugh at than
All right. And on that note,
goodbye
everybody.
Before we go, I would like to say that in case you don't read video descriptions, in case you didn't read the episode 3 description or whatever, we have already recorded a 4th podcast. And we did it through Zoom. That's how we figured out that Discord doesn't work with OBS sometimes. And so that podcast will come out some point soon. I want to get this one up by the end of July. That one might come out by the end of July. It depends.
Yeah.
I don't
know when you're free, but we have a schedule lined up for our next film.
We do have a plan for the next films. It might be kind of.
Do we want to reveal that here?
No, because we haven't even uploaded. We haven't uploaded the 4th podcast episode yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
So there's not a lot of reason to tease the 5th one. Instead, let's say the movie. Instead, let's mention the movies in 4. So then we tease episode 4.
So in episode 4, we are going to be reviewing the movies Outbreak from 1995.
A very timely movie considering the current stasis of the world.
Right. We also review
Tetsuo the Iron Man and Tetsuo
Tetsuo the
Bullet
Iron
Man, two Japanese films about a man who is cursed by turning into a machine. It's hard to describe. They are very weird. Suffice it to say, earlier, when I said that I was desensitized to weirdness already, the Tetsuo movies proved me wrong. So
there is always another level of weirdness.
Yeah.
And on that note,
Fear.
goodbye, everyone.
Fear.
Fear.
Fear. Fear. Fear.